years.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pretty wild time, but it's going very well. Sit down, please. And tremendous progress has been made, as you're probably seeing just by watching. We're doing something. I built the military and rebuilt it and made it really strong in my first administration, along with a lot of other things we did. We had a great first term. And now we're using it. Unfortunately, we have to. But you're seeing how great it is. There's no military like it on earth, not even close. And we're doing very well in Iran. You see the result. And it's been amazing. We've knocked out 42 Navy ships, some of them very large, in 3 days. That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone. I don't know how they communicate, but I guess they will figure something out. It's not working out too well. And they're bad people. They're just bad people. When you look at October 7th and beyond October 7th, look at all the killing that they've done over the years, for 47 years. And this had to be done. They were very close to a nuclear weapon. They would have had one if we didn't do our B-2 hit, Midnight Hammer. They would have had it 8 months ago. They would have had a nuclear weapon, and, you know, they're crazy, and they would have used it. So we did the world a favor. And they said, well, how are you doing on a scale of 0 to 10? How are you doing with the attack? And I said, about a 15, I would say, with 10 being the best. But it's something that had to be done, and we're doing it well. And I want to thank everybody involved. I'll be going right after this. I'll be leaving for Dover, very sad situation, to greet the families of the heroes coming home from Iran, coming home in a different manner than they thought they'd be coming home. But they're great heroes in our country, and we're going to keep it that way. There's always, when it comes to war, there's always that. But we're going to keep it to a minimum, I think, Pete, and going to be something, a service that we're really providing, not for the Middle East, but for the world. These were sick people, very sick people. This morning, I'm honored to welcome distinguished heads of state from across the Western Hemisphere for the first Shield of the Americas Summit. And it's something very, very special. Marco's been working on it very hard, so have a lot of other people, because it's a very important place for us. It's nice to be home. It's very, very important. You know, we go all over the world, 9,000 miles away, 12,000 miles away. I said, how long is this flight? Sir, this flight is 19 hours. I said, oh, that's great. I said, now I have flights that last for 2 hours. I like that better. Much better. But on this historic day, we come together to announce a brand new military coalition to eradicate the criminal cartels plaguing our region. And you have a lot of it. One of the things when we were talking backstage, you were telling me the crime, the cartels, and we're knocking the hell out of them where we can. We're going to go heavier. You saw what we were doing with the boats coming in. The boats, there's not a lot of people coming in by boats anymore. We knocked down drugs coming in by sea. Drugs coming in through water is down 96%. We're trying to find out who the other 4% are, because I think they're the bravest people in the world. Either that or they don't watch television, right? They're either very brave or they're not watching. But we're calling this military partnership the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. And that's what you need. You have cartels. They seem to grow in this region unbelievably rapidly. It has to do with drugs, largely. Earlier this week here in Miami, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who's right here. Pete, you are fantastic, doing a great job. We're proud of you. And representatives of 17 different nations formally entered this new alliance The heart of our agreement is a commitment to using lethal military force to destroy the sinister cartels and terrorist networks once and for all. We'll get rid of them. We need your help. You have to just tell us where they are. We have amazing weaponry, as you probably noticed over the last short period of time. But I want to thank members of the coalition, most of whom are friends of mine. Few of them I just met, but most of whom are friends, many of whom I endorsed. And they took that endorsement and they went on to win big. I haven't had a bad endorsement yet, right? Yeah. He says, yes. He was happy. He was a couple of points down and went up like a rocket ship, right, in Argentina. But the president of Argentina is here, Javier Milei. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. President of El Salvador, another friend, Nayib Bukele. You know, he is a man who we've gotten very close to. I saw him as a young man my first time. You were young and handsome. Now you're older and handsome. You're older and handsome. But he runs a good operation. That's all I care about, right? When I first saw him, I said, he's too young. And then I saw the job he did. I said, well, I guess he's not too young, because I was young and did well. But you've been a great president, and we appreciate the relationship very much. President of Paraguay, Santiago Peña, thank you very much. Thank you very much. President of Ecuador, Danielle Noboa. Danielle, thank you. Thank you, Danielle. President of Panama, I love that canal. Jose, I think he made the greatest deal in history. He bought it for $1. One of our brilliant presidents. I can't sleep over that deal. They gave it to him for $1. Jose Raul Molino, whereas, you know, you made one of the greatest real estate deals in history. Jimmy Carter, one of our great presidents. President of Honduras, Tito Esfora. Thank you, Tito. Thank you very much. Great to see you the other day. President of Guyana, Irfan Ali. Thank you. President of Bolivia, Rodrigo Paz. Thank you very much. Great people. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I have to be very careful with this because, you know, your first name is very similar to a first name that we have, but fortunately it's pronounced different. It's Kamala, as opposed to Kamala. I like Kamala better in many ways. And I just want to say thank you very much, but I had to be careful with that first name. I didn't want to get it mixed up because it would ruin your reputation completely. Right? I said, is this the same pronunciation? No, sir, it's a little different. It's Cam, right? Cam, as opposed to Cam. We don't like Cam. President of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Chavez, as well as the President-elect of Costa Rica, Laura Fernandez Delgado. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the President of the Dominican Republic, Luis Abinader. And so many of my friends are in the Dominican, including the Sugar King, right? He is indeed the Sugar King. He got a lot of sugar. I don't know if that's good or bad, but he's got a lot of it, right? But we're grateful to be joined as well by the President-elect of Chile, Jose Cast. Congratulations. It's an endorsement. Gave you a little endorsement. I love when I give endorsements and people win. But you know what? They don't lose. You know, I don't know. I guess it would be illegal. Could you imagine if I could say they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on a campaign? They're losing, and they beg me for an endorsement. I give them an endorsement. They win by 30 points, and I get nothing. If I could sell that, is there a way? Do we have any of our legal people here? Marco's close enough. Is there a way I could get paid for that, Marco? I'd make a lot. They spend millions of dollars. And I give it for nothing. I could, even if I put it into the Treasury of the United States, it would be pretty good, right, Marco? But Marco's saying this is not a good idea. No, but it's an honor to do it. It's an honor to have that power where I can endorse somebody, and even in foreign countries. Here it was, we had one in this week, 124-0 with endorsements, and so that's good. But now I'm doing foreign countries all of a sudden. To say, sir, would you endorse me? And it's an honor. If I like you, I only do it if I think you're good. You know, if I think you're not good, I've turned down many more than I've accepted, believe me. I want to thank Secretary of State Marco Rubio for his leadership in organizing this really important summit. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic Secretary of State. And thus far, look, we've had the most incredible year of any president, I think, by, you know, I ended 8 wars. We're not going to go into it too much today, but what we've done is incredible. And we're going to be doing some incredible things together, because I look at our region, if I can call it that, as being very important. It's been abandoned by the United States for so many years. You know, they went so far away. They went to these faraway places where they weren't even wanted. And a lot of stupid people, really stupid people. But Marco's going to go down, I think, as the best Secretary of State in history. That's my opinion. Now, I'm a little prejudiced because I like him, too. But I think he's on his way. So you've done 25%. You got 75%. He's got 3 years left. So he's got 25% under your belt. So far, you're leading. You're very leading by just about a smidge over a couple of pretty great ones. We've had a couple of pretty great ones, right? But I think he's going to do that. And I think Pete's right there, too. If Pete keeps going, he's going to be something, too, at what he does. All of the nations in this room share the same priorities: security, prosperity, free commerce, and the rule of law. And you want the rule of law. Sometimes your communities don't let you have it because you got some rough communities, right? That's why together we're also forming the Shield of Americas, a new organization to advance these shared priorities in our hemisphere. And we're pleased to be joined as well by Secretaries Pete Hegseth, Scott Bessent. Scott, thank you very much, Scott. Oh, it has to be a big deal if you're here. Well, he controls the purse strings of the country. You know, he goes on television and he just soothes everybody. He did it yesterday. The prices were going. He got on. He's a soothing person. He's actually a killer, but I don't want to say that. No, he's a soothing person. He goes on television. Right, Pete? I think nobody better. So we could use him for war every once in a while, you know, soothe. Although we don't really want that kind of a personality for war. We want your personality for war. You're just perfect. Howard Lutnick. Thank you, Howard. Chris Wright. Kristi Noem. Along with U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, who you all know and you deal with.
Kristi Noem,
you do it very successfully. I ask Jamieson all the time, can you get more? Can you get more? He's the king of tariffs, right? But he's very gentle. We want to be very gentle with our friends, right, Jamieson? Deputy Secretary of State Chris Lando. Chris, where is Chris? I haven't seen Chris. He's fantastic. He was an incredible student. He went to the best schools, and he was #1 in his class at all times. And Marco saw that and saw the talent he's got, and she said, that's the guy I want as a deputy, and I heard you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Stephen is, I don't have to tell you anything about Stephen. Everyone knows. There's nothing, Stephen, there's nothing I can say. He's fantastic, that's all I can say. And Senator Bernie Moreno, who's an incredible friend of mine, and he ran a great race. He was not given much of a chance. He was running against a person who was there for a long time and was sort of considered a shoo-in, right, Bernie? And we knocked him out. We knocked him out. He's trying to make a comeback, but we took him out. And Bernie's done a great job. For decades, leaders in this region have allowed large swaths of territory, the Western Hemisphere, to come under the direct control, and transnational gangs have taken over and they've run areas of your country. We're not going to let that happen. We'll help you. and bloodthirsty cartels that impose their will through murder, torture, extortion, drug trafficking, bribery, and terror. And some of you are in danger. I mean, you're actually in danger. It's hard to believe. But we're working with you to do whatever we have to do. We'll use missiles. If you want us to use a missile, they're extremely accurate. Boom, right into the living room. That's the end of that cartel person. But we'll do whatever you need if you want. A lot of countries don't want to do that. They say, oh, sure, I'd rather not have that. I'd rather not have that. I believe they can be spoken to. I don't think so. Many of them don't want, and that's okay, too. You're going to do you. But if you need help, you're going to let us know, okay? Many of the cartels have developed sophisticated military operations, highly sophisticated. In some cases, they say they're more powerful than the military in the country. We can't have that. These brutal criminal organizations pose an unacceptable threat to national security, and they provide a dangerous gateway for foreign adversaries in our region. And we don't want them near our country either. We don't want them to come in. They're cancer, you know. They're cancer, and we don't want it spreading. We have a very strong border. You know, we have a border now where for 9 months, 0 people have been able to come through. It's hard to believe, actually, because we went from 25 million people coming in over the Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst presidents in history of the world. He was the worst president in the history of our country. We've had some pretty bad ones. Recently, we've had some pretty bad ones, but he's the worst. But he would go down as one of the worst in the world. I'm going to up his category now. It's horrible what he did. And what he didn't do was probably worse than what he did. Every leader here today is united in the conviction that we cannot and will not tolerate the lawlessness in our hemisphere any longer. The only way to defeat these enemies is by unleashing the power of our militaries. We have to use our military. You have to use your military. You can't fight these people with, and you have great police. You have some great police, but they threaten your police. They scare your police. You're going to use your military. In many cases, our forces have already been working closely with yours, and the United States looks forward to deepening and expanding that cooperation in the months ahead. And it's so good that we got to know so many of you. I mean, we're so many. And I'd love to get to your countries at some point. Marco loves going to your countries. He's always at one of these countries. He likes your countries the best, okay? You know, where are you? I'm in Chile. Oh, good. How's Chile doing? Good. He likes it. He feels very calm. We all like him, right? It helps. He's got a language. He's got a language advantage over me because I'm not learning your damn language. I don't have time. I was okay with languages, but I'm not going to spend time learning your language. That much I won't do. Just give me a good interpreter. Interpreter, very important. And I know if somebody's good. I may not speak the language, but I know I had an interpreter recently that wasn't good, talking to a very strong person from a different part of the world. And I could tell, even though I don't speak the language, I could tell the interpreter was not good. When you go, when I give a long, flowing, beautiful sentence, and in this case, it was a woman, and she gave it in about 1/4 the time. I said, well, their language may be efficient, but it's not that efficient. And I could also tell when I have great interpreters. Interpreters are very important. You know, you have a bad interpreter. You think you're doing well? Boy, did I do a good job talking to this one or that. Was I great when I spoke to Putin today? Was I great when I spoke to President Xi? Was I great? But if the interpreter isn't speaking right, or is weak, or is ineffective, or is just not good, or not interpreting your words correctly, in one case, we had an interpreter who, when she disagreed with what we were saying, she actually changed it. We considered her a foreign minister, right? But no, the interpreter is, I talk about it all the time. Interpreters are really important. When you don't speak the language, they don't speak the language, people have no idea. People have no idea how valuable, and I'm on them all the time, people have no idea how valuable a good interpreter is. But over the last year, the world has witnessed the supreme power of the United States. We're the most powerful military country in the world. Again, I rebuilt it I spent so much time rebuilding it, over $1 trillion, and now we just had another budget. We may be going to $1.5 trillion. We're building a thing called a battleship, like in the old days, remember? We have a Secretary of the Navy, and he suggested, I've always said, why don't we have battleships anymore, shooting big bullets instead of, $3 million rockets? And they said, well, sir, we just don't have them. Nobody could give me the answer, but we're actually building 10 of them. And I said, you remember the old ones you'd see Victory at Sea, remember Victory at Sea? And you'd see these ships going through those waves like the waves were nothing, although the waves are pretty powerful. They knock out a lot of territory, but you'd see these incredible, they're pieces of art. Beautiful, most beautiful, the big battleships of the 1940s, right? Power. I said, well, would we ever want to bring them back? Because we have some of them. They're museums and other things. And they said, sir, the new ship is 100 times more powerful than what we were looking at with those guns in front. Amazing, right? 100 times. I said, you sure it's not maybe 90 times? 100 times more powerful. And we're building 10 of them. Not to use them. We don't want to use them, but by having them, nobody's going to play games. So, just good to have them. We don't want to use them. They'll say, oh, he's very militaristic. I'm the one that ended 8 wars. I'm the one that, and we have another one coming, I think. The easiest was that, and that was just, and as you would understand this, the hatred between Putin and his counterpart is so great, okay? It's so great that, Ukraine, Russia, you'd think there'd be a little bit of camaraderie, there's not. And the hatred is so great, it's very hard for them to get there. It's very, very hard to get there. So we'll see what happens, but we've been close a lot of times, and one or the other would back out. But we're losing, they're losing. It doesn't really affect us very much because we've got an ocean separating. I'm doing it as a favor to Europe, and I'm doing it as a favor to life, because they're losing 25,000 souls. Think of that every month, 25,000. Last month, 31,000, both sides, 31,000 people died, mostly soldiers. So I have an ability to get those things done, to bring people together, and I did great with so many. India, Pakistan, that was going to be a disaster. I was raging for a number of days. I did that through trade. I used tariffs and trade, and it was amazing. But we did amazing. One was 32 years, one was 34, and one was 37 years, and we got it done very quickly. And we'll get this one done too. But the hatred is hatred's an amazing thing. People do bad things, and people don't get things done when the hatred is too great. That's a lot of it. Just as we formed a coalition to eradicate ISIS in the Middle East, we must now do the same thing to eradicate the cartels at home. So we did eradicate ISIS. Now, during the 4 years, we had a rigged election. You probably read about it, probably heard something. So it gave me 4 years to contemplate and to stage my comeback. I staged big comeback. They say it was a comeback. I didn't think it was a comeback because I had the people on my side. So I didn't view it as a comeback, but they did everything possible during that 4 years. They're crooked politicians, dirty cops. They're dirty cops. They did everything possible to make it impossible for me to win. And I won in a landslide. But during that period of time, I learned a lot. And I learned how you people, and I saw it so badly, how you're suffering with what's happening with the crime in the region. And I said, if we ever come back, we're going to eradicate that crime. And I'm going to work with you. And if you want, we're going to do it. We can do it pretty easily. As part of our commitment to countering the cartel presence in our region, we must recognize the epicenter of cartel violence is Mexico. The Mexican cartels are fueling and orchestrating much of the bloodshed and chaos in this hemisphere, and the United States government will do whatever is necessary to defend our national security and to protect the safety of the American people. No, look, it's coming through Mexico. And I like the president very much. She's a very good person. She's got a beautiful voice, a beautiful woman, but beautiful voice. President. I said, let me eradicate the cartels. No, please, President. We have to eradicate them. We have to knock the hell out of them because they're getting worse. They're taking over that country. The cartels are running Mexico. We can't have that. Too close to us, too close to you. But everything comes in through Mexico, mostly. At the same time, all of us must recommit to ensuring that law and order within our own nations, and that includes showing zero tolerance for the gang activity, tremendous gang activity in Venezuela. That's in much better shape than it ever has been. We've developed a great relationship in Venezuela. The savages who murder and rape with impunity must be permanently removed from society. We must not allow our criminal justice systems to be corrupted so that they protect these criminals and animals at the expense of your people. And for some reason, all over the world, this is a region that has problems that other regions don't have. They have different problems, but they don't have this problem. The United States last year, we achieved the largest drop in murder rate in recorded history. We have the lowest murder rate in 125 years. Hard to believe because, I don't know, it's, we've got a lot of them out, but we allowed through the Biden policies and Obama, who was another terrible president, by the way. He was Barack Hussein Obama, terrible president. He was a divider, great divider. I call him the great divider. But they allowed a lot of people into our country that shouldn't be here, but in particular Biden, because Biden had no idea what he was doing. He had no clue. It was being run by whoever got near the auto pen was running the country. He was the auto pen president. And frankly, they let at least 25 million people come in to our country, some from prisons, some from mental institutions, gang members, the heads of gangs, the mentally insane. I'll tell you, people came in from mental institutions and insane asylums, and we took them. We had an open border policy. It's a policy divided and devised by idiots, but they poured into our country. So we went from the worst border in history to by far the best border. We have the best, strongest border that we've ever had. We have great people that did that job. By securing our border and cracking down on traffickers and smugglers, we've reduced the fentanyl pouring across our border by 67%. This is in our first year, Give me a little more time, we'll do better. 67%, which is a number that's unthinkable. They say if you could do 2%, 1%, but we got it down 67%. And we got a lot of the murderers out. We had 11,888 murderers allowed in our country with this ridiculous open border policy that these eggheads put in. But we're also working closely with you on ending human smuggling and the implementing of the Safe Third Country agreements, which are very important. In January, America's armed forces also ended the reign of one of the biggest cartel kingpins of all, with the Operation Absolute Resolve to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice in a precision raid that nobody's ever seen anything like it. This was in a very powerful military base, fort, and they went in and they took him out and they got him out, and people couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. We were right into the heart and took him out. And it was nasty. It was about 18 minutes of pure violence. And we took him out. We lost nobody. Not one person was lost. Not one aircraft or no military equipment, zero. People have never seen anything like it. And you're talking about into a military base with a lot of soldiers, good soldiers. Since that operation, we've been working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, who's doing a great job working with us. I mean, she's doing a great job because she's working with us. If she wasn't working with us, I would not say she's doing a great job. In fact, if she wasn't working with us, I'd say she's doing a very poor job. Unacceptable. No, but she's doing a great job, Marco, right? And she gets along great with Marco. And we're taking out tremendous amounts of oil. They're making more money now than they've ever made. We have the big oil companies in. They are making more money. We're getting some. They're getting a lot. They're making more money now than they've ever made in the history of their country. Can you imagine? And it's being spent properly, and they're watching it closely. And I'm pleased to say that this week we have formally recognized the Venezuelan government. We've actually legally recognized them. We have also just reached a historic gold deal. It's called the gold deal with Venezuela to allow our two countries to work together to facilitate the sale of Venezuelan gold and other minerals. They have great amounts of gold. They have good land, I tell you, very good land. But they weren't able to take advantage. The system didn't allow them to take advantage of the value of their land. As we achieve a historic transformation in Venezuela, we're also looking forward to the great change that will soon be coming to Cuba. Cuba's at the end of the line. They're very much at the end of the line. They have no money. They have no oil. They have a bad philosophy. They have a bad regime that's been bad for a long time. And they used to get the money from Venezuela. They get the oil from Venezuela. But they don't have any money from Venezuela. They don't have any oil. They don't have anything from... People can't even... They land in Cuba. They can't get gasoline to fly out. They have to leave their planes behind. And they want to negotiate, and they are negotiating with Marco and myself and some others. And I would think a deal would be made very easily with Cuba. But for 50 years I've been hearing, as a little boy, I'd be hearing about Cuba. You know, Cuba's a disaster, but I've been hearing so much about Cuba. But Cuba's in its last moments of life, as it was. It'll have a great new life, but it's in its last moments of life the way it is. And but our focus right now is on Iran, and we'll do that. I would say, what will you do? Take about 2 days off, Marco? No, he won't. Maybe an hour. He'll take 1 hour off, and then he'll finish up a deal on Cuba. That'll be an easy one. But it'll be the entire region that we're doing that. Many of you have come today, and they say, I hope you can take care of Cuba, because you've had problems with Cuba, right? You mentioned. I was surprised. But 4 of you said, actually, could you do us a favor? Take care of Cuba. I'll take care of it, okay? So, and as these situations in Venezuela and Cuba should make clear under our new doctrine, and it is a doctrine, we will not allow hostile foreign influence to gain a foothold in this hemisphere. That includes the Panama Canal, which we talked about. We're not going to allow it. And together we'll protect our sovereignty, our security, and our cherished freedom and independence. And just in finishing up, the nations gathered here today are filled with unlimited potential. You have tremendous potential. It's a great part of the world. But to fulfill that tremendous potential, we must smash the grip of the cartels and criminal gangs and horrible organizations run by, in some cases, absolute animals, and truly liberate our people. And some people are afraid to do it because they've gotten such a foothold. But I think you can get out of that, and we'll work with you if you need. With the courage and resolve of the leaders in this room, great leaders will make our nation safer, stronger, richer, and more successful than ever before. So I want to thank you all very much for coming. I look forward to the incredible progress that's soon to come. You're going to see some incredible things. And now I'd like to ask Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth to say a few words, and then I'll sign a proclamation formally launching the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, which is what it is. It's a counter cartel coalition. And thank you all for being here very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank all the leaders that are here today. I'll be very brief. First of all, Mr. President, thank you for making this region a priority. We've had successive American presidents say that the Western Hemisphere is going to be a priority, and they never do it. And the President has made it a personal priority. He's also a president of action. It's why I believe he will go down as the most historic figure, one of the most historic figures in American history, and certainly of the last 100 years, because of what he has been able to do and is doing right now with the Western Hemisphere. Thank you for your bold leadership. It's an honor to be able to serve in your administration. And, Mr. President, 2 points I want to make. The first is we have a lot of allies around the world, and we are grateful for our allies. And the countries represented here today, all 12 of the leaders here, are allies. But they're more than allies. They're friends. At a time when we have learned that oftentimes an ally, when you need them, maybe may not be there for you. These are countries that have been there for us, and these are leaders that are not just allies, they are friends, and they are always willing to work and cooperate with the United States, and we're grateful to you. And as you said, Mr. President, these are also countries with extraordinary potential. Some are fulfilling it, some are well on their way to fulfilling it. And this is important. We want to be a partner with you in that. We want the world to see that when you are a friend and an ally of the United States, it is a good thing. It's reciprocated. It comes back the other way as well. And so the fact the President is here today and making this a priority is so critical. If I may, because some of these cameras are covered in Spanish. You all right about it? Oh, good. Please. We don't need an interpreter for this one. Quiero darle las gracias. I think I'm a good interpreter. You'll find out in a second. But las gracias a los países que están aquí hoy. Estos países, primero, el presidente ha hecho esta región una prioridad en su administración. Hay muchos presidentes que han dicho que lo van a hacer, pero él lo ha hecho y se lo agradecemos. Y muy agradecido a los 12 países que están aquí hoy. Estos son países que no solamente son aliados, son amigos. Son países que siempre responden cuando hay una necesidad y trabajan en conjunto con nosotros, y queda mucho por hacer. Estos son países que tienen una gran población, mucho potencial, y queremos ser sus socios en desarrollar a sus países, sus economías y su seguridad. Y le doy las gracias de verdad por estar aquí en el día de hoy con nosotros. Que Dios bendiga a todos esos países, a los Estados Unidos, y gracias como siempre por la cooperación. Seguiremos trabajando en conjunto y vamos a hacer cosas muy buenas, muy importantes para esta región, que van a hacer que en las generaciones futuras nos van a agradecer el labor que estamos haciendo en el momento de hoy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is he better in Spanish or in English? I think he's better in Spanish. I mean, it's great. Pete, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, I only speak American. Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here and to establish in this hemisphere peace through strength. For far too long, our country's gaze was only on borders in far-flung places. Not our own border, not our own hemisphere, not the Western Hemisphere. President Trump has established the Trump corollary of the Monroe Doctrine, the Monroe Doctrine. And the War Department is implementing it as fast as we can. In fact, 2 days ago, Mr. President, we launched 18 countries were signatories to the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, ACCC, which is not just an organization that's going to hold conferences and release white papers. That's not what we exist to do. It's an action coalition of like-minded countries who are going to bring their capabilities to bear with American leadership at the forefront to ensure we attack and get after this cartel challenge, which for far too long we have accepted as some new normal in our own countries. President Trump and the American people rejected that in our own. We don't have to live with communities flooded with drugs or violence or cartels and gangs. We can seal our border, and we have to for our citizens. We share a hemisphere and geography. We share cultures, Western Christian civilization. We share these things together. We have to have the courage to defend it. And we have a commander-in-chief in our country who's set that compass heading. And at the War Department, we look forward to working with all of your countries and more that are not here to say, with our shared assets and our intelligence and our capabilities, with American leadership, we will go on offense against the cartels. they will know that we're just around the corner. Whether it's drug boats or on land, the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, the ACCC, will be a force for good, for peace through strength in this hemisphere. We look forward to working with your great countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Would you like to come up and surround us here? Thank you. Keep that music going. Keep it going. Thank you. Big deal, actually. That's not an order.
It's a beautiful memento. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
They're all there. All there. You gotta plan all the countries.
Wanted to know, somebody says, Barry, you always touch your left sleeve. Ever since I was a kid, I've done it. Did you, what, just 1 second here. Want you guys to notice something. Hold on, before I show this, let me preface it. I noticed there were some people there with President Trump, and you got a little insight today. I'm not sure if you noticed it. I saw the cabinet there with, members of the cabinet there with President Trump. Saw Chris Wright, saw Scott Bessent, saw Marco Rubio, and I also saw Pete Hegseth, all cabinet members. And then I just noticed at the end there, I'm not sure if you picked it up yourself, there was somebody on stage, I don't know, somebody who just got fired. That's kind of odd. And it's funny to me that after this event, they're actually focusing on the person who got fired. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I've never known anybody to get fired and hang out with the basically C-suite of the company and then meet, oh, there's another cabinet member, and then to meet all the people and then be hanging out with them. You've been bamboozled. Well, no, if you've been watching this show, you haven't been bamboozled. That's just it. All the other people out there have been bamboozling you. Notice when he introduced everybody, he mentioned her. He didn't say, oh, yeah, I had to bring this other chick over here to this job. I fired her because she was incompetent, but I'm going to have her work with all you guys. She really sucks. She's horrible at her job. But you know what? I figured you guys are a bunch of slubs, and I'm going to have her hang out with you. You buying it? I don't think you are. I think you realize right now, if you've been watching what I've been showing you, and I've got something that Glenn Beck, I swear he watched my show, that it has become more and more apparent that Trump hoodwinked these guys once again. Notice something else he said in his speech. I think he almost caught himself. I should have said that. The media is probably going to pick up on it. I got to be careful. Did you hear what he said when he said, I've had 4 years to stage this? You can go ahead and rewind when he started speaking, and he said, I've had 4 years. I had 4 years to stage this. Interesting choice of words. He didn't say plan. I had 4 years to stage this, meaning everything you're seeing, we've laid out. Not my words. I'm just listening to what the president says. And I listen and I watch. And I'm like, you don't put a fired, cast out, incompetent person in together with all the leaders of these countries and say, yeah, she sucks, but yeah, I'm going to have her work with you slobs. It doesn't work that way. Man, and the press fell for it instantly. Oh, Trump fires Kristi Noem. And I was waiting. He has never, as of right now, has never said the word she was fired. Caroline Levitt never said the word she was fired. And lo and behold, she's up on a stage with everybody. With Bessent, Chris Wright, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio. You see, what we're looking at, there's no doubt about it, this isn't diplomacy. There is not going to be any kind of diplomacy moving forward. I know some people don't like it. I know the liberals, get their panties all in a bunch, but we're not looking at diplomacy. We are seeing the Monroe Doctrine in action. Well, let me rewind. You are seeing the Monroe Doctrine in lethal action. You're seeing the burgeoning, almost like, a phoenix rising out of the ashes, the rebirth of American, not superiority, supremacy. There's a difference between superior, means you're better than the other people. Supremacy is, you're on a whole nother level. We are seeing the rebirth of American supremacy. I know that's going to make some of the libnuts coil, and probably trolls will come in because you can't use the word supremacy. That's a bad word. Screw yourself. This supremacy then would turn into primacy over the entire Western Hemisphere. And you just watched it in Miami right now. I don't know how the rest of the world's going to understand this, but this man has come in. He doesn't give a crap about polls. He doesn't give a crap about the media. He's just doing it. They can't stop him. And he's putting together, as he said in his own words, a coalition. Now, think about that. The Western Hemisphere is pretty big. And you just watched Marco Rubio speak to these people in their language. All of them, 12, 14, or whatever there are in the Western Hemisphere, in the Latin Western Hemisphere, and said, basically, we're going to do this for you. There was, I think, 13 or 14 of them, and they now all become, I don't know, freedom-laden nations. Just like America first, you can bet that Javier Milei has an Argentina first atmosphere. We know Bukele in El Salvador, he has an El Salvador first ideology. And you can go down the list. Noboa's Ecuador, Pena's Paraguay, and the rest of this ain't gonna give a crap coalition that President Trump put together. Not a single socialist deadweight in sight. No Beijing proxies, no Russians, no Ukrainians, just a bunch of very tight allies committed to one ironclad mission. And that mission, being led by Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth under the direction of President Trump and Kristi Noem, is to transform the entirety of the Western Hemisphere. And they are going to put together an impenetrable security. They're going to look together to destroy the cartels. You see, one thing about working on the cartels that a lot of people may not understand is what Marco did right there. He spoke the language. I'm with you. I'm one of you. My family is from Cuba. So there won't be any more, well, I mean, there will be some cartels still trying to keep going, but they're going to go. You think what's happening in Iran is big? Wait till you see what they do against the cartels. Look up what's been going on in Ecuador. Notice the media is not talking about it because Ecuador asked for it. Come on in here and blow the shit out of these people. Next part of it is there won't be any migration. Illegal migration. Nope. You keep these people where they're supposed to be. We'll help you. We'll be there for you. But don't bring none of them over here. Next part of that is they're going to basically boot out anything of Chinese influence. All the stuff that China's been doing that has been tumorous, growing like a cancer across our backyard, right here in, Cuba and some of these other nations. It's like a tumor, a cancer. It's going to be excised. Man, this is crazy. I mean, you're watching a man who thought for 4 years, what am I going to do when I get back into office? And this master class that he is putting on, people don't want to acknowledge it. I watched the insanity over at Jesse Jackson's funeral. I was going to cover it. I'm like, no. And I watched Jesse Jackson's funeral. I saw basically a funeral of the Democrat Party. That's what I was looking at. They got no answers. Nothing. He is totally focused on annihilation of both our enemies and the Democrat Party. And watch slowly as the media begins to capitulate. If there's one thing the media wants is they want to keep those high-paying jobs. Oh, we're going to talk probably tomorrow about what's going on with the FCC and how, the sale of CNN is freaking these people out. Every single pillar that they've always relied on is being crumbled. Completely crumbled. The globalist malaise is being completely eradicated one by one by one. And there's nothing they can do about it. President Trump assembled, he put together these 13 or 14 countries, whatever number it is, and he's got the cabinet right behind him and Kristi Noem, who's basically a de facto cabinet person at this point. And they are going to, did you notice? Excuse me. Kristi Noem didn't look foreign to these people. They were hugging her. How did she just acclimate to this new job after getting fired and have these people from these Latin countries all hugging on her? Hey, Kristi, you think maybe she's already been working with them? Yeah. And now President Trump, with what he's done in Iran, has shown these people, you see what I can do? And that goes for two things. I want to bring you back to something else. He's shown them what he could do militarily. He showed them how forceful he could be. He showed them that the Democrats can't stop him. And he showed them, besides militarily helping you, I can help you financially. You're maybe thinking to yourself, well, how did he show them that? Well, you guys may need to go look back and see what he did with Javier Milei in Argentina that had all the Democrats freaked out. Go ahead and do your research on what he did, probably within 30 days of getting into office. What did he do with Javier Milei? I don't know the exact number. I'm going to be guessing here. But he gave him, rather, he lent him something like $20 billion to help him get his country back in shape. And at that time, the media and the Democrats, oh my God, he gave Javier Milei $20 billion. What did Javier Milei do with that money? And then how fast did he repay him? See, a lot of people aren't talking about that. He has shown all of these countries, we can come in. Not only can we keep you safe, but we can help fund some of this stuff that you're going to need to get your countries back in order. We'll get you the guarantees on loans and everything else, and we're going to help you pay it back. I'm going to show you something in a second where I want you to remember that term, pay it back. I don't know what interest rate he charged him, but Javier Milei paid it back. What's the best way to crush narco-terrorists and countries that don't want to play along? You squeeze them financially, and then you have the military might to go in and finish it off. You secure the border, and you show these people you can be a strong, safe, prosperous country if you want to play along. Otherwise, you're going to be in the throes of some sort of Chinese death match, and they're going to squeeze you until you got nothing left. On the other hand, we're going to show you how capitalism can really work. And then from a safety perspective with the criminals, excuse me, with the safety, for the safety thing with the criminals, the other thing you have to remember is, hey guys, we got this great prison in El Salvador. And you can take these idiots that you got in your country, and President Bukele will put them in a prison that you're never getting out of. No, we don't need congressional approval. We don't need the Supreme Court. You guys handle this. See, I don't know if you've thought about that for a second, because you're probably thinking, well, Barry, how can he get all this done without, approval? Well, it doesn't have to be us. It doesn't have to be us putting these people in jail. You see, when the military goes in or the enforcement part of things happen and they hold somebody, you're like, hey, you guys want to take custody of this bad guy? I'm not taking custody, because then you see what these Democrats will do. So at that point, if Ecuador takes custody of some drug lord, or Javier Milei from Argentina takes custody of somebody, and then they ship them over to Bukele, Trump, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm not holding him. We just helped them. We didn't even put boots on the ground. Whole new ball game. Whole new ball game for the bad guys who think they can come to America and work our court system to death and get freed and get free everything, free legal and no. The only thing you're getting free is 2 or 3 meals and a cot. That's about it. And you're not going to see the light of sun ever again. See, working with this coalition, it gives President Trump a completely different enforcement vehicle. Just think to yourself, joint operations between El Salvador and the United States, intel sharing. This isn't just doing what other governments in America have done. It's the architecture. It's putting together, like a Sim City game, a hemispheric stronghold. Watch Canada. Eventually Canada's like, can we get in on this? Well, I mean, we're in the Western Hemisphere. Can we get some of this? Yeah, well, if you straighten your shit up, yeah. You're going to have yayo, cocaine stopped at the source. You're going to have fentanyl pipelines stopped at the source. You're going to have trafficking stopped at the source. It's not even going to make it to our country. And at the same time, now let's get into how we're going to make some money here. Well, you got all these strategic minerals, and as President Trump mentioned, gold, gold, gold. We're taking the gold. What else did they announce today? Did you hear what the new announcement is? We're taking Iran's oil. F you, all you people who say we shouldn't or we couldn't, we're taking the oil. So between minerals and oil in Venezuela and other minerals from these other Latin countries and Iran's oil, he's locking in America's energy supremacy for quite some time. I'm watching literally an Arthur Fiedler orchestra. I mean, he is orchestrating this to the 10th degree, and people aren't paying attention. And just think of the message it sends. We're not going to be worried about Noriega types, generals, Maduro types, Ortega type. No, we're not going to have any of that. None of that Beijing cash-loaded dictators. Nope. Their time is done. They got nothing left. There's nothing else they can do. And with the surgical nature of what he can do is because if these countries invite us in, then again, the Democrats can't say anything. It's not a war. It's support. Are they going to say they don't want us supporting people? You're going to see very soon a completely different Western Hemisphere, which then creates a completely different world. Completely different world. Democrats will have nowhere to go. President Trump, Rubio, all of them together, Kristi Noem, have just completely rewrote the entire script. We are now a lethal, unapologetic, profound, prosperity driving country across the entirety of the Western Hemisphere. And if you other people around the world want to get some, we'll help you, but it's not going to be that globalist BS anymore. The Monroe Doctrine, it was fine. It is now the Donroe Doctrine. This hemisphere is going to belong to free, capitalistic, prosperous, safe nations with leaders who are basically going to be handpicked by President Trump. These next 3 years, we'll leave the Democrats in the 2026 election and the 2028 election last, because believe it or not, that's the easy part. How many years has this country tried to eradicate communism? Vietnam, you can go all the way back. It never worked because they never really wanted to eradicate it. President Trump is the first one who actually, I want to stomp it out. And I believe, and this is going to scare some people, this is how you create an empire. Ooh, empire. We're going to be empirical. If you do it right, why not? We're not out there subjugating people. We're not out there just hoping that people, bow down to Donald Trump. No, it's a completely different kind of empire. It's not like the British Empire where you go out there and conquer different countries. You're not like the Roman Empire where you're slitting people's throats. No, we're going to beat you with money. We are going to show people who never saw prosperity what that weapon can actually do. When people realize, I don't have to eat dirt, no, you can actually get a new car. What? See, you've been forced into these situations. All of these countries have been forced into poverty and kept in poverty because you could control them and only a certain amount of people could get rich. Not anymore. This is where now dictators will start to freak out as they watch strong, safe, prosperous countries come together. It is essentially going to be, not there yet, but it will be game over for our enemies and their enemies. And when I say enemies, I'm talking about enemies here as well. They will be turned into nothing but feckless mouthpieces. And I'm here for it. This is specifically what I voted for, and it may not be what you voted for because he didn't tell everybody what his plan was. If you didn't hear it, if you didn't know what he was thinking, you know it now. I hope you sincerely embrace it with everything you have, because you're about to see an America that we always dreamed of. Not one that was subjugated, not one that was controlled, not one where we had to bow to elites, but one where everybody could choose their own path with freedom. And yeah, we've got the 38% of people here that want to be socialists. Good luck. Watch how that changes as they begin to see Argentina, Ecuador, Paraguay, Cuba. You see, prosperity is infectious. One of the reasons I have problem in our chat is because people, you keep talking about wealth and money, because it scares too many people. It's comfortable being broke because you can blame it on somebody else. What happens when prosperity is within your reach and you're the only one holding yourself back? When you can't say there's no jobs, when you can't say that's too expensive, the houses are too expensive, it's somebody else's problem. Until you look at Argentina and go, damn, how are they doing it? Paraguay, whoa, what are they doing there? El Salvador, you're telling me all these third world countries are now going to be first world countries. There can't be any complaints. And then imagine your vacation opportunities. Hey, let's see, I might want to go to Chile. I might want to go to Paraguay. I might want to go to Cuba. When the world is your oyster, get in the shell. Enjoy it. Don't complain. I am. I can't wait. I'll be right back because I got to show you some stuff about Cuba. We'll be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I want you to see what President Trump posted early this morning before this entire event. It's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at this. Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and, quote, surrendered to its Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. The promise was only made because of the relentless U.S. and Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years, back to when it was Persia, to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, thank you, President Trump. I have said, you're welcome. I love that. You're welcome. Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They are instead the loser of the Middle East and will be for many decades until they surrender or, more likely, collapse. You're going to hear that again in the words that I'm going to be, not words, but video I'm going to be showing you about collapse. Remember, I just said earlier, I just said it, using the prosperity as the weapon is stronger than any bullet. Usually the people getting killed in these types of operations are primarily military, and the people don't feel it. The people have already been feeling the poverty. And so it's very easy to change things when you work on it from a prosperity perspective. And so he continues, he goes, today, Iran will be hit very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior. Our areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I heard this morning on the news, I found it very interesting, is the unconditional surrender might be hard because the guys who may be pushing buttons and doing so may not have any leadership, and they may be doing it on their own. They may be completely disconnected from any leadership, and they're like, I guess we need to push this button. And so now he's pretty much saying, we're coming for you too. Lay it on your arms, or you're going to get just completely vaporized. Sorry, that's how it's going to be. And I understand today that the stealth bombers are flying, or they already may be in the air. And those precision scalpel bombs that they will be dropping without any fear from what, 30, 40,000 feet in the air? You can't even know, you won't even know they're there. And then he dropped another post just literally about 20 minutes ago. Very short, very to the point, almost military-like. He says this: the United States Senate should focus on exclusively, if necessary, nothing else. Nothing else is important. The Save America Act. It's what everyone wants. Actually, save voter ID. All right, so let me get to what first, before I get to the show, I wanted to show you this. There's our winning couple who went fishing this morning with Robin. These were the people who, just like you, may have signed up to go win the fishing trip. And there's 4 people. There's 2 couples. This is the first couple, and they got to go fishing today on the boat. Don't panic, painting it upside down. But there they were. Robin says they should be coming back anytime soon. And then we go to dinner shortly thereafter. So congratulations to them. I show that because, one, I want to thank Fishing Booker for being a partner in the deal. And number 2, people here actually win. And we give out Bibles, and I got to ship out a bunch of hats, and we've had trips and dinners. And by the way, we go to dinner with this couple tonight, so it should be pretty cool. I asked them. I had to drive Robin to the dock early this morning, and I got a chance to meet both of them. I'm like, you like seafood, right? Yeah. I'm like, all right. Well, tonight we're going to go to a fantastic seafood restaurant, and you're going to have some of the best seafood you've ever had. And so I look forward to sitting down tonight and having dinner with them. All right, so wanted to show you that. Now, let me show you this piece on Coolbot and why it's going to be kind of important. We'll talk about it as we go, but I don't think enough people understand what's going on in Cuba right now.
Rubbish on the streets, bikes to get around, power only by torchlight. This, the state of Cuba, desperately running out of oil supplies because it's reliant on Venezuela for fuel, and the US blocking imports of oil from there threatens to grind this island to a halt. The problem is everywhere to be seen in Havana, and this now a threat to public health. No fuel to power the
These people are in peril. It will only be a short time before, in that climate, heat, humidity, where rats are going to be running wild, which is going to, basically spread disease. You got all these decimated buildings. They can't eat. They've been out of, listen to this. They've been without power for going on 3 days, and they don't know when it's coming back. You cranked the economic off button. Not a single bullet has been fired.
rubbish trucks. Now it's serious, critical, very critical. It's prone to causing diseases which are caused by garbage. Please do something about this. And no fuel for homes, schools, hospitals, causing blackouts for much of the day. Cuba's iconic 1950s cars replaced by these. Electric bikes, the only way to get around in a country being choked off from its supplies.
Those beautiful cars, gone. No gas. And that's the last cars they got. Even with China helping them, they didn't give them vehicles. They got no gas. And yet they have a beautiful coastline, beautiful fishing, and they can't really do much with tourism.
Life in Cuba has become almost unrecognizable for the Caribbean island, which usually attracts millions of tourists a year.
I used to be a driver. I used to drive in El Medron, and I worked every day, but because of the gasoline and oil situation, we've had to take this alternative, find a tricycle to keep moving the population. There's no other way.
Cuba's communist ideology has put it at odds with the world's biggest superpower for years. It's now stuck between accepting White House demands or facing a crisis that could snowball into catastrophe for citizens. Trump said,
You see that? No bullets, no guns. We're not doing anything other than turning off the switch. Oh, that's heartless. Would you rather we went in and shot them and bombed them? Or is President Trump saying, you know what? And Marco Rubio, this could be a vibrant country like it used to be. They already have the model. It was perfect. They had hotels, they had entertainment. It was amazing. Tourism. So let's not bomb this place because, we need to build it back. Let's turn these people into viable, productive members of society. And let's get in there and clean it up.
it needs to make a deal or face the consequences, seeing a potential chance for a Cuban government to fall.
Cuba is right now a failed nation. They don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway. We're talking to Cuba right now. I have Marco Rubio talking to Cuba right now. And they should absolutely make a deal because it's really a humanitarian threat.
South America is a region split at the moment, traditional alliances bending under the pressure of US involvement. These were much needed supplies from Mexico being shipped in last week. But its government now halting shipments after the US threatened tariffs against countries that send supplies to Cuba.
Oh, I know some of you, I know that Democrats hear this and go, he's starving them. See, one of the things people have to realize is there's not a single person in prison here in the United States that has the key to their own cell. Every single person in Cuba and their government have the keys to their own poverty, their poverty cell. All you got to do is say, can you guys help us? What do we need to come to get? What do we need to agree on so we can help us? Oh, we'll gladly help you. Here's what we're going to do. You need stuff, we got stuff. But in order to get the stuff, you need to do what we want. We're not controlling this. We're just saying, put a blockade, don't give them anything until they come to their senses. And you know what? How many meals do you have to go through, miss, before you come to your senses and think, I remember when I ran away as a kid, my mom wasn't worried. She told her friends, he'll be back, I'd say right about 6 o'clock. I'm leaving. All right, bye. How does she know? Because that big chubby kid want to eat. And when he wants to eat, he's going to turn around and come back. But I know what he's going to do first. He's going to go to Grandma A, and Grandma A's like, I got nothing for you. And then he's going to go to Grandma B, which I did. I got nothing for you. So I was like a Cuban. You got any food, Grandma? Nope. All right, I'll be back. Hey, you got it? Nope. I had the key. I had my own key. I better bring my butt back home and get some food. My mom knew. She absolutely knew. I got on my bike, went home. Sorry. What else? I won't do it again. What else? I'll go to my room. What else? Thank you. That's what he's telling the people of Cuba. Oh, we're right here. We'd love to help you. We got all this food and lots of fat people, and Barry's been losing weight, so he's not eating all the food. And with him not eating the food and RFK Jr. having all these great ideas, we can make you guys healthy. And then we're going to make you prosperous. But you got to ask nicely. That's not bad. That's showing people the error of their ways. We all went through it. We got spanked. I can't do that. It's going to hurt me more than it hurts you. You've heard the story. And all you got to do is stop being idiots. That's all you got to do. Why is that a bad thing?
But not everyone there agrees with the Scheinbaum administration, with demos against what some Mexicans say is economic suffocation for Cubans. And Chile's far-right president-elect saying it won't be lending Cuba a hand either.
I do not agree with giving direct economic aid to a government that has imposed a dictatorship for more than...
So now you're seeing why President Trump put together this coalition in the Western Hemisphere. They have completely surrounded Cuba. You can't even ask these other countries. No. Just like my grandma said, nope, there's no food here. Take your butt home. They can't go see grandma because daddy says, bring your butt over here. We'll fix this. And now I've got all these people together in our coalition. Sorry, can't help you.
60 years and has left the Cuban people in a very deprived, inhumane situation.
No. You can't say that other countries are responsible for your starvation. And the amount of education that these people in Cuba are going to get and have been getting, they know it's not America's fault. And I know this firsthand because I could take you down to South Miami and talk to you and introduce you to a whole lot of prosperous Cubans. Sort of like what Marco Rubio is doing, being from Miami. He knows all about it. We could drop in 20, 30, 40 businessmen who said I had to run away and I had to take my family over to America because of what Castro did. And guess what? Once President Trump comes back, I'm not going to leave America, but I'm going to have a second home over here. Wouldn't you like that? Yeah, I guess so. We don't have to eat dirt cookies.
Russian tourists at the airport in Havana being repatriated, but while an inconvenience for its holidaymakers, this is potentially an opportunity for Russia itself, because Cuba now needs oil, and badly. Russia could be the one to provide it. With the
Nope. This was obviously recorded prior to what's happening in Iran. Now you see, I wanted to include this because now you can see what happened. He took Venezuela, got Maduro out. Sorry, Cuba, no more oil from Maduro. What are they going to do? They're going to turn their attention to Iran and Russia and or China. So we got to do something over there about the Straits of Hormuz. We got to make sure that they don't keep feeding Cuba. Crank, crank, crank. Off it goes.
US-Cuba relationship strained for decades. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, is seen to be ramping that up further, accused of a personal agenda or even a lifelong dream to exact regime change. Rubio, for his part, defending the aggressive stance to Bloomberg.
The fundamental problem Cuba has is it has no economy, and the people who are in charge of that country, in control of that country, they don't know how to improve the everyday life of their people without giving up power over sectors that they control. They want to control everything. They don't want the people of Cuba to control anything.
The result for Cubans is a dark uncertainty with no surety of what's next or confirmation as to where help will come from, if at all.
Huh? What do you mean they don't know? The uncertainty about where help is going to come from, or if at all? What kind of BS reporting is that? They perfectly know well where the help is coming from and from who. They just don't want to face the music yet. And it's definitely a yet.
Bueno, me enteré que se cayó el incendio ahora. Y necesito llegar a mi casa para ver qué.
By the way, this is from yesterday.
Puedo hacer porque ya usted sabe que ya después sin luz no se puede hacer más nada en la casa. Tengo el nieto que está estudiando también y tengo que hacerle su comidita y todas esas cosas. Y el transporte que nos ayuda a la situación.
A ver, verdaderamente yo me siento deprimido. Una persona deprimida porque estos apagones no hay quien lo aguante. Las personas enfermas, las personas durmiendo, los niños para el otro día levantarse temprano para la escuela y sin poder porque sin dormir, es la madrugada entera sin luz. Yo no tengo luz de las 4 de la mañana, ya estoy cansado de esto ya.
I know when I've had hurricanes down here how it feels not having power. But every time we don't have power because of a storm, we also know it's coming back. People also ask me, how do you deal with hurricanes down there? One, we can see them coming from far away, so we know what to do. Number two, you plan. I mean, there's grocery stores on every corner, so you go get stuff that's not, you don't have to refrigerate just in case, so you can eat. You go fill up your gas tank. Everything I just said, Cubans can't do. And then, of course, Ron DeSantis or FEMA will put on announcements. The power in zip code 12345 is estimated to come back on Tuesday by 9 a.m. All right, so, honey, we just have to weather the storm here. It's real simple. These people can't answer any of those questions. Where can we get gas? Where can we go buy food? When's the power coming back on? There's no answers. They are keeping their people right now, they are keeping the Cuban population impoverished and in peril.
Lo que pueda suceder es que hay que seguir luchando. No hay otra. Seguir luchando hasta donde se pueda.
The Antonio Guterres thermoelectric power plant caused a power outage in the central, western, and eastern regions of the country. Protocols are currently being implemented to gradually restore power. This situation led to the interruption of radio and television signals due to technical problems.
Yeah, I know about technical problems. I understand that. But you don't got no answers. See me, when my technical problems happen, I have a checklist. Hey, try this, try this, try this. Make sure this, and hopefully one of the 10 things on the list that works. They don't have any list. Okay, so how you gonna fix it? You got no power, and you got no way to tell anybody when the power is coming back on. You don't have any radio. How the hell do you not have radio? Radio, a CB, nothing? Nope. Forget television. Internet? Nope. This country isn't a country. You cannot have and be a sovereign nation when you can't even turn on the power. And so people, you're going to hear it over here. They're going to blame the United States and what Trump is doing. And they're not pointing at their president. Hey, listen, I understand the Castros were bad, but you might just be worse. You got the key. Fix it.
This whole issue of scheduled blackouts. When you get up in the morning, there is no power. You go to work, you go to school, you come back, and there is no power. With the collapse of the electrical power system, half the people, or the entire population, are without power and without connection. We are cut off. We don't know what the news is, because we can't turn on the TV, and so on.
And even if you do turn on a TV, it's state-run TV telling you everything is good. I think Baghdad Bob is probably their #1 anchor. It sounds like California. I don't know. Sounds like California. Rolling brownouts, blackouts? Seriously? Do you see that? Yeah. Hold on. Wait. Let me rewind that because it had something on the screen there. Hold on. Yeah. Fuel shortages and blackouts in Cuba blamed on U.S. sanctions on the energy sector. Oh, it's our fault. It's our fault. You can't have any lights, television, internet, radio, food, gas. It's our fault. If it's our fault, then that means we control it, which means you're not a country. You know, we see the tariffs happening, and we saw what happened with Spain, where President Trump said, hey, you want to be a badass? You're done. You can't sell here. Spain can't blame that on us. Spain need to come, and they did, back to the table and say, all right, we messed up. Sorry, El Donald. Sorry, we'll get it fixed. It's not our fault your country can't feed you, especially when it was such a prosperous country.
Hay otras personas que cocinan con carbón. Yo no puedo cocinar con carbón porque está muy caro.
I never heard anybody say charcoal is very expensive. I wanted you to understand what she just said. I can't cook with charcoal because it's very expensive. Her words. This is the last time you felt charcoal, if you even still use charcoal. Most of us have, gas tanks in our grills. And she's like, I can't even cook with charcoal because it's too damn expensive. Charcoal is expensive. That's Trump's fault, huh?
Como lo a veces me cae 2,000 y pico. A veces un poquito más. Yo no puedo darme el lujo de comprar saco de carbón. Y malamente lo que se come es arroz picadillo y malamente a veces frijoles, lo que aparece.
Bueno, estamos vendiendo carbón porque como no hay gas, no hay petróleo, estamos cocinando con carbón, ¿me entiendes? Y el carbón también es bueno, es útil, porque así la comida queda rica, también queda sabrosa.
The president tweeted today, Cuba gets no more money, no more oil.
So this communist biatch masquerading as a anchor on CBS, Margaret Brennan. She hates everything Trump's doing. And so she's going to be talking to Congressman Salazar, who I ain't too keen about, but she does know Cuba. So listen to this.
CIA assessment is that regime in Havana is not necessarily in peril, even though
She actually went on television and told people in America, the CIA assessment is that Cuba's not much in peril. You want to talk to some Cubans, or you just want to gaslight everybody?
The president's saying they are. What are you hearing?
Well, look, I represent the city of Miami, the heart of the Cuban exile community. And those words are like magical. It's been 65 years, Cuba is really a center of power for our enemies. Iran, Russia, China, and now I think they're getting the memo, and Cuba, it's hanging by a thread, I should say, because the threat that Cuba has represented to the United States has been immense. They have no water, they have no electricity, they have no food, they had nothing. So if
wait a minute, Margaret is saying, yeah. So if you know they've got no electricity, no food, no water, no gas, no oil, how is it? How is what you said at the outset make any sense? Oh, it's not that bad. Well, I'm pretty sure if you ain't got no food, water, gas, electricity, it's pretty effing bad.
you think the Maduro was weak, Cuba is even weaker, and now they do not have one drop of oil coming from Venezuela, so that could be the beginning of the end.
Well, Mexico's stepping up and providing them some. We're going to have to watch what...
He got excuses all over the place. Oh, well, Mexico's going to do it. Lady, why won't you just come out and say communism sucks? It's a failed country. Why are you going through all these mental gymnastics not to say what's really happening? I can't believe Trump's going to take over Cuba, too. Ah!
Very big mistake. Very big mistake from Madam Chainbaum.
The fundamental problem Cuba has is it has no economy, and the people who are in charge of that country, in control of that country, they don't know how to improve the everyday life of their people without giving up power over sectors that they control. They want to control everything. They don't want the people of Cuba to control anything. So they don't know how to get themselves out of this. And to the extent that they've been offered opportunities to do it, they don't seem to be able to comprehend it or accept it in any ways. They would much rather be in charge of the country than allow it to prosper. It is.
How do you deal with a government that, what are you in control of? See, that's the one thing. If I was the president of Cuba and I had a prospering country and things were going well, that's one thing. I'm the leader of this country. Look at my people. Look at the land here. Everything's going great. Now you want to go out there and be the head coach of a 0-14 team. Something's wrong. Your people can't eat. They can't drive. They have no cars. There's no oil. They're in the dark. There is no internet. What else? No radio, no television. You've turned your people into cavemen and cavewomen. That's where you have to look in a mirror if you can find one.
Important for the people of Cuba to have more freedom, not just political freedom, but economic freedom. The people of Cuba, and that's what this regime is not willing to give them, because they're afraid that if the people of Cuba can provide for themselves, they lose control over them. They lose.
Bingo. That's what I said earlier. That's what I was telling you. If the only way you can control your people is by starving them, ergo, if they're no longer starving and they're prosperous, you can no longer control them. Your ideology is failing. The only thing you want to do is subjugate them. And so if they're no longer subjugatable, if that's a word, then you have no power. President Trump knows this. Marco knows it. Any capitalist will tell you. You have no control over those people if the only thing you can do is keep them basically poor. Because once they solve that, they're giving you the old middle finger.
Power over them. So I think there has to be that opening. It has to happen. And I think now Cuba's faced such a dire situation. Remember, this is a regime that has survived almost entirely on subsidies, first from the Soviet Union, then from Hugo Chavez, and now for the first time it has no subsidies coming in from anyone. And the model's been laid bare. And it's not just, look, multiple countries have gone in and helped. The problem is that you lose money in Cuba. They never pay their bills.
And that's what I said earlier when I was tying it in. When I said, I think it was a Trump, and they like pay their bills. They can't do anything. I mean, think about your own household. I want you to imagine if you're the husband, if you're a dad, and you walk in and there's no lights. It's hot here in Cuba. There's no air conditioning. There's no TV. Let's turn on the radio, honey. And she just looks at you, and there's no radio. All right, honey, make me some dinner. There's no food. You're no longer the head of the household. That woman And those children are going to look for a way out very soon. Dad's a deadbeat. There's an old saying I used to hear on Summer Robbins, when she used to watch The Real Housewives. I can be broke alone. I don't need you to be broke. And that's how the country's people are got to be looking at their government. I can be broke alone. You're not doing anything. So you, as Marco just said, your entire country has existed because of the kindness of others. That's from a Streetcar Named Desire. That's it. You only exist because you're like, please give us some stuff, which is what all of the socialists want. And then you realize, as was said many years ago, socialism is great until you run out of other people's stuff. And now this country is in dire straits because it's got no stuff and nobody to give them stuff, except one man. One man says, I can help you. I got a whole bunch of stuff here. All you got to do is one thing. Ask me nicely. And that's what Marco's for.
Because the Cuban regime has no fundamental understanding of what business and industry looks like, and the people are suffering as a result of it. So I think certainly their willingness to begin to make openings in this regard is one potential way forward. I would also say, and this has not been really talked about a lot, but the United States has been providing humanitarian assistance directly to the Cuban people via the Catholic Church. We did it after the hurricane. We actually just recently announced an increase in the amount we're willing to give, and that's something we're willing to continue to explore. But obviously that's not a such long-term solution to the problems on the island.
Now, this guy is the current, I guess you can call him the president of Cuba. And now all of a sudden, this is from yesterday, after talking, Breaking Bad, and said, I want nothing to do with Trump. Now you got no electricity. Now Venezuela has fallen. Now Iran's done. And he's like, he thinks he's in a negotiation. You got to watch the subtitles at the bottom because he really thinks he's got some sort of negotiating power.
Con los Estados Unidos a un diálogo sobre cualquiera de los temas que se quiera debatir o dialogar. ¿Con qué condiciones? Sin presiones, bajo presiones no se.
See? Yeah, you can do it, but we don't want any pressure. You have no, what it was Costanza, you got no hand. There's nothing you can negotiate with. Whenever you negotiate, like I've said in business and buying a house, whatever, or buying a car, hey, what are we doing? I'm willing to, you can't do anything. If he leaves, you notice Marco Rubio's down there. Trump, I got nothing to say to this guy. He still thinks he's in a negotiation. Dude, you're not in a negotiation. You're in a plea. You should be on your knees hoping that President Trump and Marco Rubio can come to your aid.
No se puede dialogar sin precondicionamiento en una posición de igual.
He wants to be in a position of equality. No, you are definitely below us. Sorry, does that offend the libs? Probably. But we are exerting, at this point, American supremacy. I didn't say white supremacy. No, we're not equals. Wait, that'd be like you going to your dad and saying, Dad, I need like $50. Let's talk about it. All right, you and me are on the same. No, we're not. Because you're asking me for something, I can say, go F yourself and leave, and you still got nothing. What are you going to do for me? I wash your car. That's a good start. What else? Cut the grass. Okay, we're getting someplace. I'll ask Mom if she wants me to do the dishes. Okay, now we can discuss something. You have put value into your request. Because without the value, you're begging. And every single one of us has had those negotiations. Whether it was when we were kids or whether we have spouses or even girlfriend, boyfriend. There's a request and what you gonna do for me. Sometimes out of the kindness of your heart, you may bestow something, but most of the times it's a give and take. And this guy's like, oh, wait, we're a position of equals. Bro, you ain't got no electricity. I got more electricity on my jet. Are you bringing out a meal for this meeting? Oh, you don't have any food. I'm not eating that rice and stuff with maggots in it. I got better food on my jet. No, we're not equals. And that's where it all breaks down for liberals. What do you mean? We're all diversity, equity, inclusion. We're all the same. Bullcrap. I can get back on that big ass jet with the air conditioning and a TV and communications and electricity and blankets and food and fly my ass back to Washington while you sit here and eat dirt cookies. So no, don't tell me we're equals. This is where people have to humble themselves. Is that a bad thing? No. If you're asking for something, anybody who has ever come to you in your life as an adult, hey, Bobby, yeah, I'm running into something here. I could use like $100. And you would listen to them, you know, and do what you need to do. But if Bobby says we're in the same position, I'm like, I guess not. You ain't got $100. That's what he's saying. Well, we're equals here. Bullcrap.
En una posición de respeto y que de un diálogo como ese se puede construir una relación entre vecinos civilizada que le podría aportar un beneficio mutuo a nuestros pueblos, a los pueblos.
That would be beneficial to both our nations. Again, what do you got that's going to be beneficial to our nation, America? What you got? I'm struggling here. Maybe I need some edification. Tell me how we're going to, quote, mutually benefit here. Now, any of you who have sat in some negotiations, some of you guys may be saying, damn, Barry, that's being hard. No, it's not. All this guy has to do is say, I can't do it. I've let these people down. I can't do it alone. That's all. That's it. So what can we work out here? Well, you know, I'd like to get the people fed. I'd like to get the electric back on. I like to do, okay, so Marco here is going to come in with the team, and you're no longer going to be living in the castle. You can still like live over, you know, in the outhouse or whatever, and we're going to get this fixed. Sign here. Sign this paper. That's how it is. Democrats hate that. Democrats hate strength. Democrats hate Trump being able to have that kind of hammer. Meanwhile, whatever the population of Cuba is, they're like, sign the paper. Give him what he wants. Because all we'd have to show them is, and just imagine this. This guy comes to the table and he gets Marco, they shake hands, they get Trump to do one of these ceremonies, he puts his big signature on something, and in 24 hours, the lights come on. How'd that happen? And in another 24 hours, the hospitals are open and it's staffed with doctors. What? How did that happen? And all of a sudden you start seeing planes and boats and ships and stuff bringing all kinds of food, and Publix opens a temporary center. How the hell did that happen? How did all this happen in 24 to 48 hours or so, and you couldn't do it for 50 years? Right then and there, you lose control of the people. So you might as well just resign. Okay, so I'm expecting this message to be broadcast in Cuba very soon.
Queridos amigos de Cuba, les habla su presidente, el presidente Trumpo. Actually, right now, I'm not your presidente per se, but if you think about it, why not? ¿Por qué no, muchachos? El presidente Trumpo es mucho fun. I love the fiesta, I love salsa, both the music and with nachos. We can have fiestas every single day with delicious mojitos and sexy mamacitas. Anyway, I hear you're running out of oil. Esto no bueno. Might be time for el people of Cuba to get rid of your leaders and join el presidente Trumpo in making el Cuba great again. Comprende, muchachos?
Oh, I saw that and I'm like, I gotta include that. That comprende, muchachos. I hope that, well, I hope nobody found that offensive. It's comedy. It's fun. Whoever put that AI thing together, it's absolutely. I got tears. Oh my gosh. Oh, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get a tissue. I'll be right back.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
It's a failed nation now, and they're not getting any money from Venezuela, and they're not getting any money from anywhere. It's a failed nation. Mexico is going to cease sending them oil. So I'd like to take care of the people that are here from Cuba. You know, we have many people that came from Cuba that were thrown out of Cuba or that fled Cuba. I mean, they came over on rafts. They went through shark-infested waters. I don't know how they did it. And it was many years ago. Many would like to go back. Many would like to at least visit their relatives. And I think we're at a pretty close point. We are dealing with the Cuban leaders right now. The Cuban government is talking with us. They're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money. They have no anything right now. But they're talking with us. And maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What about the post?
After many, many years, we've had a lot of years of dealing with Cuba. I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy, but they're in big trouble, and we could very well, something good, I think very positive for the people that were expelled or worse from Cuba that live here with Cubans.
You know, what's really interesting is, unlike Iran and some of these, even with what happened in Venezuela, there is no shortage of people who could step in and would want to run Cuba. I mean, there's probably 200 people just in Miami who would do it. Big businessmen who've got so much experience. You're going to hear, this is from the soccer thing we heard a couple days ago.
Amazing. And we think that we want to finish this one first, but that will be just a question of time before you and a lot of unbelievable people are going to be going back to Cuba. Hopefully not to stay. We want you back, and we don't want to lose you. We don't want to make it so nice that they stay. But some people probably do want to stay. They love Cuba so much. I hear it all the time. That was another one that wasn't supposed to happen. Venezuela is going great. It's been stabilized. We have a wonderful person as your president-elect, Delcy Rodriguez, and she and her staff have been doing a fantastic job working with us. We're taking out hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, and it's going to Houston and various other places where it's being refined, and we're sending them back far more money than they've made in many years, and actually very shortly it'll be more money than they've ever made.
And Venezuela is working.
I understand. All right, so that guy right there is the owner of the Inter Miami soccer team here. Big money. Big. See, one of the things, when you tap into that Cuban network, there's a lot of these people with a lot of money. A lot of them, they came over here, or their parents came over here with literally nothing, but they had skills. That's where the difference is between, a lot of Iran's been people with skills have left Iran quite some time ago. Same thing with Venezuela. The generations didn't have anywhere to go where they could prosper. Well, a lot of the Cuban refugees that came here, well, a lot of them became drug dealers, but a bunch of them became lawyers and doctors and businessmen and became very, very, very successful, billionaire type successful. So they are the first thing that they could instill with everybody in Cuba is like, hey, I used to live over there, or rather, my mom and dad used to live there. We got kicked out. Guess what? I own $1 billion company back in the United States. How the hell did you get $1 billion? I worked my ass off of it. You guys don't know who Wayne Huizenga used to be. Wayne's dead now. But Wayne, he started a company called Waste Management. Go look it up. It picked up garbage and waste management, and then he owned Blockbuster, the chain of videos places. He owned that, and then he also owned the Miami Marlins. Back then, I think it was the Florida Marlins, and he also owned the Miami Dolphins. Go look at his history and where he came from and where his family came from. These other countries like that in Venezuela and Iran don't have that kind of person, that stature to say, I know what to do here. My family's from here. I'm already successful in America. By the way, America's a great country. What do you mean? It allowed me to make $100 billion. All the other places that we're fighting so-called socialism don't have that kind of, or for the most part, have that volume of people who came from Cuba who succeeded here in America. You go down to South Florida and go into Little Havana, and you're seeing restaurants and all kinds of businesses, and they've been run because people got chased out of Havana. So it works. And so they'll be talking to their own people, and it's going to be brand new because they weren't allowed to see it. Hey, get in the car. Let me show you where our family used to live. We used to live right there. And we had to leave. You're from these streets? I'm from right here. I'm like Joe from the block. Can you imagine the influence that will have when people from America start driving down the streets in their new cars and they're no Ubers yet, but you just go and already know the neighborhoods. They're dilapidated now, but they know where they are. That vision that the Cuban people would see would be beyond anything their president could stop. And that's what he's afraid of.
And you just got off the phone with President Trump. What did you hear from him?
I did, John. Good morning. He, just broadly speaking, he insists that on a scale of 10, with 10 being the best, he thinks that the war is, I would say, at 12, maybe 15. He said that the U.S. Is doing very well militarily, quote, better than anybody could have dreamed. He said that he rebuilt the military in his first term. He's using it in his second. And then he quickly turned to Cuba. He said, without being asked, Cuba is going to fall pretty soon, by the way, but Cuba is going to fall. They want to make a deal so badly. And I asked, how so? He said, they want to make a deal, so I'm going to put Marco over there, and we'll see how that works. But we're really focused on this one now, meaning Iran. We've got plenty of time on Cuba. Just more quickly on, obviously, what's going on with Iran. And you were just talking about this with our colleagues in the region. I asked about rising gas prices, and he said, that's all right. It'll be short term. It'll go way down very quickly. And I said, well, they're pretty high now. And he said, no, they're not. They're up a little bit, not much, but it'll drop to record lows. And so I asked, well, does this mean that you're going to figure out the Strait of Hormuz soon? Again, something you were just talking about. He said, quote, it's already figured out. We've knocked their Navy because, you know, when you knock out the Navy, they can't do what they wanted to be able to do. The Navy is almost, he said, we just hit the 25 mark. Can you imagine that? Big ones. 25 ships are down.
And right now it's up to 50. There basically is no Navy in Iran.
Doing very well.
If Venezuela...
So I come back to Bill. I just want you, well, you probably already know, so I'm not going to be patronizing. It's almost as if these people don't get it. I talked about gas prices yesterday. Everybody who's got a head about them realizes, yeah, it's a short-term hit. It's going to spike because of the uncertainty. And as soon as everything is done, not only is it going to come back to normal, it's going to drop even further. If you're not paying attention and you're not understanding, we now control Venezuela's oil. We're about to control the oil in Iran. Then if you understand that, you understand that it has no choice but to go down. We are going to be so rich at that point, it's going to go down. And in regards to Cuba, it's almost like they're surprised. I haven't seen, like, I had to get those news clips about Cuba, and they weren't on American news. I had that one clip from AP, but they're not even talking about it. It's like they don't want anyone to know how bad Cuba is. You want to talk about doing a disservice to people? Oh, you're over there in Iran, CNN. You were before that. You were in Ukraine. You can just go 90 miles. Think how inexpensive it is. You can go 90 miles and go to Cuba, and you can be set up and do all kinds of, bring a Starlink with you, and you'll be able to do all kinds of reports. And you'll be like, damn, they ain't got no restaurants. They ain't got no food. It'd be a short report. Why not go and show people the truth? I feel like sometimes when I show you guys things, I'm like, you may see it for the first time, and I'm thinking, why isn't this being told to everybody? Oh, the answer to that is because they don't want you to know, because then you'll know not just what Trump is going to do, you will know what they didn't. What Biden, come on. Nobody cared about these people 90 minutes off of our shore, 90 miles. Nobody cared. And all they would have to do is take a remote truck and drive down to Miami and interview 5, 10 people. Hey, can anybody tell me what life in Cuba is like? We'll tell you. Why am I talking about Cuba so much? One, because it's so close to America, and it's probably the easiest fix of all the countries we're talking about fixing in the Western Hemisphere. Cuba would get so much help from the countries you saw today. The help and the restoration of Cuba would be so fast, the Democrats would want to show it. They wouldn't want people to know that that's the contrast of Cuba, of communism. Just that fast. Dirt, no lights, no food, no gas, prosperity. So it's not a hard thing. I bet you most of you could go in and go, oh, this is going to be quick. Hey, bring in the food, oil. Yeah, bring the oil in. Yes, wire that stuff up. Tell Elon to bring like 1,000 Starlinks, and let's get this country working. And those people down there, and this isn't racist, let me just tell you, Cuban people are very hard workers. They would love to be up on the poles and stringing electric and doing everything. Oh my gosh, can you even imagine? That country, more than the other ones that we're talking about, could turn prosperous just like that. I mean, within a year, they'd be in the green. They would completely get out of the red.
And causes Cuba to fall. If he somehow gets Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran all to be not these horrible places they were, he should get a Nobel Peace Prize.
You see, the problem I have with that is I don't care about Nobel Peace Prizes. Maybe Trump would like the accolade to stick on a mantle in Mar-a-Lago or something. But I'm pretty sure what President Trump really wants more than anything is to leave office with American supremacy. Because at that point, if we get the SAVE Act, no, not if, when we get the SAVE Act and all these countries are no longer enemies, and we got rid of the cartels, can you imagine what life would be like? You don't have any Middle East turban heads trying to blow and kill us up, kill us all. All these other countries down here we could visit and enjoy. Forget Peace Prize. Just go out there and start carving Mount Rushmore right now. I mean, seriously, that's how big it would get. Wow, I can't believe we've been going here two hours already. So I got a little bit short thing for you here as a segue. I love to look at the trolls that come in. He created the Board of Peace, then started a war. Somebody want to tell him what peace through strength actually means? I'm just saying. How you go through a rough patch now so that it's peace from here on out. Nah, I'm just saying. People crazy. Let me just see. Is SV texting me? Is it SV? Hold on. Wait a minute. Who just sent me a message? Okay. All right. So, oh, and by the way, now SV just sent me that President Trump is getting on the plane and heading to Dover to go pick up the bodies from the slain soldiers. And then, just so you guys know in advance, tomorrow he's flying, tonight he's flying all the way back. And then tomorrow there's a whole slate of more events down here in Doral. I don't even know what they are. Something with the GOP conference or something, but there's weekends with Bernie ain't like weekends with Trump. This guy works the entire time. So I had told you about this piece here. This is something I saw with Glenn Beck, and I feel like somebody must have watched my show.
We start with Kristi Noem. What happened? Yesterday, something happened in Washington. Looked a little like chaos. Looked like, uh-oh, trouble. And I'm not sure. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. Kristi Noem is out as Department of Homeland Security Secretary. And in her place, a guy named Senator Mullen. Now, let me start with Noem. She wasn't fired. She was moved. And she was moved into something that was like, what the hell is that? I've never even heard of that. Doesn't even fully exist yet. It's a position called the Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas.
Now, the one correction there, as people got onto this late, I ain't going to beat my own horn, but I got on it early, is that people knew about this. The people in the news didn't know about it. President Trump has been talking to Bukele and Javier Milei and Marco Rubio about this. I got wind of it through the Cuban community and all the different things that he was doing. Notice he held this meeting in Doral down here in Miami. Didn't hold it in Washington. I think that's the first indication that this is not going to be like everything up in Washington. It was held right here in Miami. Why? Well, because it's not about America. And as I said earlier, you are going to see these other countries be some of the leaders here. We're gonna back you. We're gonna make sure you're safe. We're gonna make sure that you have everything you need, but we want you guys to do the wet work. And if you know what wet work is, you know what I'm talking about. They're going to be the ones to kick in doors. They're going to be the ones to do this and do that. And so it never hits our courts. There's nothing that Democrats, any of these NGOs, there's nothing they can do. The NGOs can't even go in those countries. Who are you? Get out. And so all of this is going to be done under the auspices of, it ain't us. We're just providing safety with this treaty here. And so it's been going on, but people in the media are just starting to, they didn't even mention it. He was one of the first people I heard besides myself even talk about it.
We are going all Marvel comic. I mean, this guy is all Marvel comic. Okay, let me translate what this usually means in Washington and may mean this time. I mean, what I'm going to give you here is going to give you facts, and then I'm going to speculate on them. So, take it for what it's worth. When a president moves somebody into a job that hasn't been fully defined yet, it usually means one of two things. Either A, yeah, bye-bye. You're being pushed aside. Or B, you're being moved in to run something that is bigger but isn't public yet. Okay? And if you look at the timing, this doesn't feel like a demotion. And I'm getting mixed signals because some things it looks like Donald Trump is pissed at her about, et cetera, et cetera. So I really don't know, because this is speculation. But it feels like a reorganization of the battlefield, because it's the shield of the Americas. I know that doesn't mean anything, but follow me on this. Right now, the United States is looking at a hemisphere and a hemisphere problem that most Americans still don't fully understand or see. When Donald...
Why? You see that right there, that point, Glenn, that most people don't see it. Hopefully you're beginning to see it. Hopefully there are people in Latin America and in Venezuela in the Western Hemisphere who see it. Why is it that most Americans don't see what's getting ready to happen? Not getting ready, it is happening. Why are they not seeing the full board? Because they're stuck listening to those idiots. Those idiots who won't even talk about it, who don't go beyond the initial layer to help inform Americans, who use X as propaganda and to gaslight people instead of saying, okay, here, how many times have you heard in the last week, Trump doesn't even have any strategy? Huh? Are you not paying attention? Trump doesn't have any strategy? There's no objective? You keep hearing that over and over again, and it's all over X. Oh, some idiot here in the chat said it. He created the board of peace and then started a war. You're morons. They're not either purposely or just complete being moronic if you don't see there's a strategy and a plan here, and that he has staged this for 4 years.
Trump was running, and I've told you this before, but it's worth repeating. When Donald Trump was running for re-election, we were standing backstage someplace, and he was getting ready to go on. He said, you want to look like a prophet? You know what you need to talk about? You just keep talking about Panama. And I'm like, right. And then he goes on.
What did he talk about today? So he told Glenn that long time ago. Glenn's like, Panama? Yeah, okay, whatever. Why should I even be talking about Panama? Oh, you'll see. And then today he mentions it. He mentioned it a while back that he was going to take Panama from the Chinese. It's been part of the plan all along. You've heard it. And if you may have forgotten he said it, you may be like Glenn, like, wait, oh yeah, I remember a couple of years ago he said something, watch Panama. Now I'm telling you this. There are a lot of people out there who were 17th letter aficionados. There were people who thought 17th letter aficionados were crackpots. But damn if a bunch of that 17th letter stuff isn't actually playing out right in front of us right now. And Panama was one of those things that the 17th letter group was talking about years ago. We all heard it. I'm like, what the? And I was like, Glenn, when I heard it, Panama, what about Panama? I didn't even know that China was controlling Panama. And today, in 2026, President Trump, in front of the Western Hemisphere Latin country, said, oh, yeah, they got a good deal, huh? They got that for $1. He's letting you know what's coming. You just have to listen.
On stage, and I'm like, what am I going to say about Panama? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Panama is going to be in the news everywhere next year. And then he walks on stage. And I came back and I went, does anybody understand what he's talking about with Panama? What's happening in Panama? We all looked at each other like nothing is happening with Panama. What are you talking about? Remember when he gets in, what does he say? Panama. We want the Panama Canal back.
So what Glenn just said there is what I've become. And I challenge you and I urge you to do it. When this guy, President Trump, says something, write it down. What? Why did he say that? How did that just come? He doesn't just say shit. He's trying to let people know in advance, here's what's coming. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not crazy. I'm just trying to clue you in a little bit. Just to give you, here's a taste. And it may not be for a year, might not be 6 months. And then all of a sudden, oh, that's what he was talking about. I didn't understand.
Where is this coming from? Because he understood what was happening with Panama and China. China had taken the entire Panama Canal and was controlling it. Then what happens? He starts talking about Greenland, also in our hemisphere. Then what happens? He's talking and making moves on Venezuela. Then what happens? He's talking about, you know who's next? Cuba.
See, right about now, if you're in Greenland, your butt puckerage is happening. If you're the head of, what's it, Denmark, Norway, over there, and you think you think at this point you run Greenland, right? You really think you have control of Greenland? Imagine if you were the grand poobah of Greenland, I mean of Norway or something, in whatever country it was, and you're like, that's ours. And you're seeing Venezuela, and you're seeing Iran, and you're seeing Cuba, and he's coming to Greenland next. Number one, you ain't got much of an army to begin with. I mean, he could just like roll a couple people up in there and it'd be over. I mean, literally in hours. So again, almost like Godfather-ish, I'm making an offer you can't refuse. Because one way or another, you're going to sign this document. Either your signature or your brains is going to be on this piece of paper. Your choice. And I'm watching a New York-style gangster with New York-style gangster negotiating skills, just letting them know, hey, I want Greenland. Oh, you can't have Greenland. It's ours. It's our. You sure? You sure about that? I mean, because Norway, Denver, which one of it? Denmark is way over there. How you going to get over here and defend? By the time you send somebody over here, we already own it. You know who else got to be like really weirded out right now? Canada. He's been telling you, they're going to make you the 51st state. All of this stuff now becomes much more clear when you see what he's doing with Marco and Pete and even Scott Bessent. It's no longer just a funny punchline. Hey, I'll make you the next state. And if he decided to do it, what would you do? You couldn't stop him. You literally couldn't stop him from rolling. You wouldn't want to roll the tanks because you don't want to put any ground troops. How about we just tell you we're coming? I think one of the things that we all have to understand is begin looking. Begin understanding what else is in this Western Hemisphere. If you start thinking to yourself, what else is in this Western Hemisphere? Bermuda? Bahamas? Jamaica? Dominican Republic? Haiti? Do you think he's just talking to these countries now and hasn't noticed these other third world countries out there? Haiti wouldn't even, I don't even know what we do with Haiti, but it would go quick. Here's another country subjugated its people. They're all eating dirt cookies. I'm going to have to download that video because many of you probably, why does Barry keep talking about dirt cookies? Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you about dirt cookies. But so every one of these countries, all these small countries in the Western Hemisphere, it's ours, right? He just hasn't knocked on your door yet because he knows you can't really do anything. They'll be there until we come. We're coming. But Dominican Republic, Haiti, Bermuda, Bahamas, just look. Pull up a map of the Western Hemisphere. And if he's talking about the Western Hemisphere, look at the countries you haven't heard about yet. Belize, I guess that's kind of South of America. And go, oh, we're about to take them. Yep. And there won't be any fight whatsoever. He's not done. You just have to tune into what he says. And so Glenn just realized, hey, He talked about the Panama Canal a long time ago. Now, all of a sudden, he keeps talking about Cuba, 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 Cuba. He's letting you know. You're next, bro.
Okay. Whew. Cuba, Russia, cartels operating like parallel governments across Mexico and Central America, Chinese ports being built all over Latin America, Russian intelligence operating out of Caracas, Iranian proxies using the region for logistics and staging grounds, and every other president has treated Latin America like an afterthought. But now what's happening? It's not an afterthought anymore. The Southern Hemisphere has become the new front line of great power competition. He is declaring the Western Hemisphere is ours.
Told you that a month ago when I started showing the whole Monroe Doctrine back in December 2nd. Remember that date, December 2nd, 2023, he rolled that out. Put it on whitehouse.gov. Nobody talked about it. I was doing my normal research. I'm like, what is this? What is this thing he just dropped on December 2nd talking about the Trump corollary? Nobody talked about it. It's just Trump posting something stupid. Trump doesn't post something stupid. And then, sure enough, I had to go look back at the Monroe Doctrine. And I'm like, oh, God, it's coming. If you guys were on the show and watching, you know I kept telling you, it's coming. I didn't know which order or how it was going to happen. But when I saw him drop that document about the Monroe Doctrine, now the Donroe Doctrine, it's coming. So every one of those little countries have got to be wondering, should we call Donald? Is he going to call us? Or what are we going to do?
Okay. And DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, was not designed for that. DHS created after 9/11, and that's a whole different can of worms, and we can get into that some other time. But it was built to stop terrorism inside of the United States at our airports.
That's the key. Because people are starting to realize that it wasn't so much that Kristi Noem wasn't fired. It wasn't so much that she was, quote, reassigned. It was, what is the DHS's responsibility? And just like when he changed the term Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War, we're not going to wait till shit happens. What we're going to do is do stuff in advance. We're not going to be reactive. We are going to be proactive. All right, so if the DHS has been chartered and saying, you worry about stuff when people do stuff down here or do stuff in the country, this thing over here, the Avengers of the Americas, is a different entity that is going to be proactive outside the realm of the United States court system. Now, let me get you real deep in here. Can we go real deep? You know how many of us have been saying the military is the only way? Some of you guys are probably thinking, well, the military can't operate in the United States without the Jackson or, Insurrection Act, but you don't need an Insurrection Act for all these other countries in the Western Hemisphere because we already have the law. The Monroe Doctrine has been sitting there for 200 years. It's never been challenged. It's never been dissolved. It's sitting there. And then Teddy Roosevelt, he added something to it. Now Trump added something to it. And now Kristi Noem is going to be his de facto enforcer. That should scare the bejeebus out of people here domestically.
Ports at our borders, disaster response, blah, blah, blah. But what the president is doing now is different, and different than any other president has done.
Oh, I got to show you something if I can get it up pretty quickly here. Fox is running this.
Late this week, yesterday to be perhaps exact, but he did take questions yesterday at the White House, but wouldn't answer a question about her last night. Noem also did not answer any questions when asked. Now, this is important. The president is on his way right now on Air Force One as we speak to Delaware, Dover, Delaware, to honor the fallen 6 soldiers.
All right, so they caught it. We're not the only ones. People, what the hell is she doing there? And all these people are like, hey, how you doing, Kristi? Hi. Now there's people thinking, oh crap, what did we miss? Did we miss this entire thing? Did we all jump on something, not realizing now that all these countries you have no say in? You cannot tell them how they're gonna run their governments, what they're gonna do, and you can't even tell Trump or the military to go after them. Maybe the military is the only way. Wasn't talking about our military. That's what I started thinking. I'm like, wait a second. So these other countries can do it? I want you to hear Congressman Salazar real quick because she's down here in Miami.
The president spoke this morning. You know, I know this is primarily about trying to keep Russia and China out of the Western Hemisphere, but it's also about stability and kicking these cartels out. This is the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on what this region has been like and how it has to change. Let's listen here.
Our hemisphere has 1/8 of the population, yet 1/3 of the violent crime. There's a reason for that. America's retreat from protecting its citizens and the complacency of many neighbors in this hemisphere was a great betrayal. That's what it was, a great betrayal against our people and our nations.
So tell people at home, are these nations up to the task?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that I was on the air. Well, and it's great what President Trump is doing, because basically he's sending a message not only to the cartels and to organized crime, but to the political elite, to the leaders, that the art of governance has to start now. The good governance has to begin in the Western Hemisphere. And I'm delighted, it's laudable what the president is doing after 30 years of United States not really paying attention to our backyard, that now he has brought all the leaders and has told them it's time for you to start working with the United States again. And I'm sure they're delighted, because Latin Americans love the United States. So it's a great move.
You know, the president has also spoken quite a bit about Cuba and how Cuba is next. Here he is. Let's listen.
What's happening with Cuba is amazing, and we think that we want to finish this one first, but that will be just a question of time before you and a lot of unbelievable people are going to be going back to Cuba. Hopefully not to stay. We want you back, and we don't want to lose you. They want to make a deal so badly, you have no idea.
You know, Congressman, you're part of this group on Capitol Hill that sent this letter to the administration alleging that Castro was the one who gave the order to shoot down those unarmed planes back in 1996, and asking the administration to look into criminal charges. So I guess my question for you is, should there be a total regime change in Cuba, or should it look more like what happened in Venezuela with these criminal charges against Castro's family, Castro, and perhaps finding a way to get rid of the current president?
Well, these are two different scenarios completely. Venezuela had a working democracy until 25 years ago. Cuba has been in the hands of the worst revolution that the Western Hemisphere has ever seen for the last 65. Cuba is completely in shambles, like the president is saying. And I do believe that the leaders, or the Castro family, which are, you know, they are the ones ruling the island of Cuba, they are at some point understanding that the repressive apparatus cannot work anymore, because they don't have oil, they don't have an energy, they don't have water, they don't have food. And what Trump is doing right now is what JFK intended to do when he imposed that economic embargo on the island of Cuba back in 1961, is that it was just on paper but not in practice. So what Trump is doing is admirable in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, you know, following up on that, the Castro family, I don't think a lot of people understand, is still pretty influential when it comes to the military. And that's how you got to get in there and create some change. It's whoever controls the military controls Cuba. So what has to happen with the Castro? Do you think that the president can come to a deal with the family?
I have no doubt that at some point the people, remember that Raul Castro is 94 years old. So he's pretty much out. And it's his son and his grandson and some puppets that they have appointed. The reality is that it doesn't matter who is in control. It's that the repressive apparatus, like you said, the military controls the economy, controls everything. They will come.
The military. I was just struck by it when I was reading. You know, we all have heard the military is the only way, and we're always thinking, at least I was, that we're talking about the American military, and now I'm believing it's not just us. The coalition that he's forming, the military. He didn't say the United States military; he said the military, and so now the coalition that he's putting together. Each one of those countries has their own military, and now Cuba, which they have a very fierce military, but they're no match for the United States. And at this point, the deal, I believe, is going to be cut. There's no doubt in my mind.
Probably since Theodore Roosevelt, okay? This is hemisphere level instability. We have the migration waves, we have state collapse, we have cartels that are moving people and drugs and weapons and intelligence. We have foreign adversaries embedding themselves inside of all of that chaos. So if you're the president and you're looking at the world and you're saying, we have got to shore up America to make sure we last another 150, 250 years, another 150 minutes at times, I feel like. You don't just run Border Patrol. You build a hemisphere defense system. You make sure that our darkest Russia, China,
hold on,
Iran,
Glenn. Come out in the last 48 hours or so. Do you think that she is?
I've got to cut that. Kristi Noem actually posted. While Glenn's talking, let me pull that.
are not running operations in this hemisphere, okay? Which may explain the phrase shield of the Americas. Think about the name. It's not border control. It's not immigration enforcement. It's a shield of the Americas, the entire Western Hemisphere. That doesn't sound like DHS. That sounds more like strategic security architecture for the Western Hemisphere, doesn't it? Or he's just been watching Marvel comics, okay? But to me, the shield for the Americas sounds a little bit more like something like NATO.
You see, what I think has happened between the what do you call it, the Board of Peace? We got the Board of Peace over there, and we've got the Avengers of America over here. He has basically clipped the nuts of the United Nations. They have nothing. They have no power. They're not involved in either the Board of Peace or the things of America, the Avengers, I'm going to call them, the Avengers of America. How did that happen? How did he put together two separate coalitions in two different geographic areas and basically tell the United Nations, don't need you, NATO, don't need you? Think about that. You got a coalition here, you got a coalition there, and neither of them are called NATO or the United Nations, and they're not involved.
Intelligence sharing, cartel disruption, migration control, counter-China operations. And if that's what's being built, you would need somebody who understands a few things: border security, state governments, law enforcement, and migration policy. Well, I mean, isn't that Kristi Noem? I mean, that's...
Yeah. And so until I can see otherwise, where someone can prove to me this whole thing about, quote, firing Kristi Noem, because he also is a master of optics. You know how he always talks about polls, he always talks about ratings. He watches what is said on television. And you're telling me he fired Kristi Noem on the exact same day that Pete Hegseth was down here in Miami announcing this whole different coalition in the Western Hemisphere. Seriously? Coincidences don't exist as far as I'm concerned. Right then and there, literally right after Pete Hegseth spoke is when the dam burst. And everybody ran right to Twitter. She got fired. She got fired. I'm like, wow, man, you might want to take a step back here.
Her entire resume, isn't it? So the story may not be Noam fired on the outs. The story might be Noam redeployed. Now let me talk about the second half of this move, because while she goes outward to whatever is coming next, and the president said he's going to be talking about that this weekend, Trump brought...
He's going to be talking about Mark Mullen. That's not important right now. When he just said President Trump, and he kind of went after, he's going to be talking about it this weekend. Because at the time Glenn made that video, he didn't know what was happening down here. He didn't know that President Trump had assembled the Avengers and that they were putting together this thing called the Shield of Americas. Not America, Americas. And so that's what I believe is happening right now. And we're not done. We're not done. Somebody asked me if I was going to cover the dignified transfer. Not planning on it because it's not until 1:30 and I will be long gone by then. We've already been on for 3 hours. But I want to show you one other video that really is going to fill in something about what we've been talking about today. Watch this.
This is a long-term gain because what we want to do is get such massive oil reserves in Iran out of the hands of terrorists. And so what we're going to experience here in the short term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefit, because ultimately we're not going to have to worry about these issues in the Strait of Hormuz because we're going to get all of the oil out of the hands of terrorists. And
I'm sorry. Did he say we're taking the oil? Did he actually just say, we're not going to have to worry about this? Sort of like what you heard Caroline Levitt say yesterday. I ain't going to worry about that. No, I ain't worried about it. That ain't part of our plan. We're taking all the oil. Here, listen to him say that one more time, because I was stunned when I heard this. Absolutely. I mean, we should have seen it coming.
Get all of the oil out of the hands of terrorists. And if you look at what has happened in Venezuela, you know, the actions the president took in early January has unleashed Venezuela's potential. We were just down there this week. Chevron, huge producer, told us they're at record levels of production in Venezuela. That's just in 2 months. So we have seen more progress.
We're at record levels of production. So whatever he sent down there, Chris Wright, they brought in a bunch of people like, hey, crank it. Get it going, row the boat, do whatever you need to do. Get this oil out of the ground in Venezuela. Whatever you need, whatever equipment, whatever resources, get that oil moving. Nobody talks about it. They don't say anything. And now this guy just slips in this story. We're going to take, not some, all the oil. We are going to own the oil in Iran. And I told you 2 or 3 days ago, some people get angry about that. Oh, this was all over oil. And I'm like, yes, it was. Get over it. Deal with it. That's how prosperity happens. If you're having any issue about the fact that we went over there and dropped bombs because we wanted to go oil, guess what? We got a twofer. We took care of the Ayatollah Assahola and we get no oil. Sounds like a good day for America. For the entire country, even the ones who are bitching.
In 2 months in Venezuela than you've seen in the 20 years leading up to this point. That's just on the oil and gas. There are a lot of companies that had stuck it out under Maduro and are now hitting record levels of production. We brought down a bunch of other companies that want to invest, and they're only at a fraction of what they can be on the oil and gas sector. There is so many more fields, so much more potential. Delcy and her team also said they want to move at Trump speed. That was the language of the week. This has been a huge week for the U.S. Venezuela's relations. We reestablished diplomatic relations with Venezuela. We talked to them about critical minerals and gold and coal. We're going to unleash all of that to the benefit of both Venezuela and the U.S.
Hold on. That's what it's all about. Today was the first time I heard the other word, which I'm going to watch the market. I bet you it's jumping. Actually doesn't open until Monday. Gold. We heard about oil. We heard about minerals. We watched Doug Burgum talk about some of the other stuff. And then today, President Trump's like, we're getting the gold too. Man, we are amassing something very special. And it becomes dangerous because there's so many people in our country that don't want it, who shy away from it. And I just want to impart upon you one thing before we go here is this is what we voted for. We voted for a strong America. We voted for a dominant America. We voted for somebody who's like, I'm going to take this and run with it. It's not going to be easy. We're getting so much opposition here in America, but that stuff may go to the wayside because all these other countries are like, we're with him. At this point, the Democrats are beginning to look stupid. You say to yourself, how can you guys be against this prosperity? How can you be against eradicating terrorism? How can you be against stuff that's a no-brainer for the rest of the population? Just because Trump's doing it? When Obama and the Clintons and Kamala all went to a funeral yesterday, and instead of just going to a funeral, they tried to make it an anti-Trump rally, all that did is show people you got nothing. And just like with the people in Cuba, what happens here when people here begin experiencing more prosperity? You know, Cuba is dirt poor. They got no lights, they got no food, they got no gas, they got nothing. And so it's going to be very easy to show them the way. It's going to be very easy to show them the contrast. What is going to happen here when the operation goes down, gas prices go down, your food is cheaper, your rent is cheaper, you're getting a better tax refund, and then all of a sudden, all this prosperity is breaking out like a flu-like virus. What do you think's going to happen? You think people are going to go, oh, no, I want to do what the Democrats do. What do? They don't do anything. No, it won't happen. And then the cherry on top, you get the Save America Act passed, and then Katie barred the door. Make sure your 401k is strapped in. Make sure you're invested, because 2026 to 2028 is probably where that puck is that you really want to focus on, because as this stuff begins, I mean, you can profit now. You can enjoy some prosperity right now. It's only going to get better. And if the contrast changes other countries, if Iranians are like, oh my God, this is fantastic, I don't have to wear this burqa, I can actually speak my mind. What's this thing? Internet? I can do all this stuff. Wait till the people in Cuba can do all this. They're going to embrace the contrast. Then what happens in America? You're going to look like an idiot by not embracing the contrast. You can stay in these blue states and see what it's like, or you can get, pushed to get some prosperity where you live. Prosperity changes everything. And you don't have to go any further than look in our own chat. How many people are, resistant because they've been taught, it's been ingrained in them that you either can't have it or you don't deserve it. Well, let me just tell you, unequivocally, you effing deserve it. That's what we are here for. That's what President Trump is here for. That's why you voted for him. And even if you didn't know prosperity was coming, it's coming and you deserve it. Look yourself in the mirror and go, damn, I worked 30, 40 years and I get this $1,500 a month check from Social Security. I deserve more. I want more. It's not a bad thing. Because right now, whatever situation you're in, whatever lot you find yourself in today, Even if you're sitting in a 2-bedroom, one bedroom house or apartment and you only have $1,000 a month from Social Security, look at what the people in Cuba are going through. And as soon as they can go to the store and buy bread, as soon as they can go and get meat, as soon as they can play in the streets and drive a car, there's no turning back from that. And there should be no turning back from that. You should be able to go for whatever you want to go for. And for too long, people have been instilled, go to work 30, 40 years, and get the gold watch and sit home and watch Oprah reruns, when you could do so much more. And I think that's what President Trump is setting up for us. Let's see here. Obama should be looking for a country that doesn't extradite. And it's funny because you see so much on X, which you don't see in real life. People talking about it, the arrest. So I'm going to leave with one question. What's more important to you and your family? Prosperity and opportunity, or seeing someone arrested right now? Be honest. And if you have any doubt, look to your wife or your husband. Honey, what's more important to us right now? Success, opportunity, prosperity, or seeing somebody arrested? Be honest. Be honest. All right, everybody. I'm grateful that the technology worked and it didn't like go crazy. Don't know what happened earlier. That was really weird. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get through this entire show, but we did. And I did not know I was going to be here 3 hours, but I had some of that stuff from yesterday with Glenn Beck and stuff that I wanted to share with you. What I'll probably do if you guys don't, if you don't have cable or something, I'll go ahead and record the dignified transfer, and I'll put that up as a second video. Something tells me, no, it's not something. President Trump told me that it's not going to be that big of a deal in terms of an event. I think what's going to happen is that the caskets are going to come off the plane. He's going to salute them. They're going to get into the hearses, and he's gone. I don't think we're going to see a big speech or anything, because he said that. Because I'm not going to make a big deal out of this. So we'll see. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it'll turn into an hour event where he takes questions, but I don't, based on what he said and what he's doing down here, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'll tape it because it's dignified, it's ceremonial, and we need to pay our respects. So I'll post it as soon as it happens. Like I said, it's supposed to happen at 1:30, an hour from now. So if you have cable, I'm sure it'll be on, well, who knows? I shouldn't say I'm sure, because I don't know how long they'll cover it. Or what I can do, because Robin's got plans this afternoon, I may do an unhosted presentation. I mean, I'll post it, it'll run, and then it'll cut off by itself, and I won't be talking live. So I think that's what I'll probably do. I can probably get that. I can probably get that set up while the after party is on. So let's go ahead and plan that. 1:30, I'll do an unhosted presentation. It'll come on, and forever how long it's on, you guys will be able to watch it. Now, understand, when I do the unhosted stuff, sometimes a screen will come up and it will say the event isn't on yet. Wait a minute, SV has texted me. By the way, SV is about to become a star. He's about to get on live here. Let me, please don't forget about okay, yes, I will. All right, let me do that one first. SB sent me a super chat from Rumble. Where is it? Okay. Can I show it here? I'm not sure if it'll work here. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll click this button this way, and then I'll move it over here so I can show it. And it's way down there. So hold on 1 second, just doing some work so I can show this person's super chat. There it is. All right. It's way down there. All right. Do you, from Jay Saya 30, thank you. Do you think this is a precursor to a NATO-like military alliance, or for just the Western Hemisphere? Maybe he'll protect it with the Golden Dome. Good thinking. That's exactly what I just said. I just said it. And so I love it when you guys begin getting it as well. That this is looking like some sort of NATO UN type thing on his own. So you got it. Bingo. All right. So let me just get this straight here. And the artwork is in place. And I can scroll through it. And we're good to go. All right. All right. Tinley. Shield of America's Trust must have watched Marvel. That's what you notice my thumbnail. It was him with like the shield, like Captain America. George, Shield of America is a signature program of Trump. Very, very important to him. Would he put some fired loser in charge? Nope, not at all. And not only is it important to him, it's obviously important to those other leaders from other countries. You don't put a loser, someone you think is incompetent, in that position. Ronaldo, Christie fired, yet she's in charge of the new team that will secure the Western Hemisphere. Media tards. Exactly. Fox Maroon, I live in Northern California on major narco-terrorist trafficking routes, considered a pipeline into Central America. Feeling a little safer this morning, knowing help is on the way. Indeed. You for sure. John, how you doing? Bible on the way. I feel they and Christie are going to tie the cartels and Democrat Party together. Yeah, this is going to be just a... Okay, you want to go a little bit further here? Imagine the interrogations that can happen in other countries, unlike what the interrogations are like in this country. That should make you go, ooh. Think about that for a second. We got all kinds of rules. We got all kinds of regulations and how you can treat prisoners and everything else. I can't even imagine what it would be like in the El Salvador Sacat when they catch you and say, start talking. Hey, that could be crazy. That could absolutely be crazy. I can't read the name. Arnie, great job, Barry. I always learn a lot listening to you. I was wondering if you ever met Bob Marley. No, I met Rita and the family. My dad knew Bob Marley, but I never got to meet him. I met the Marley family at their compound here in Miami during my music life. Read the word daily. NATO and the UN are no longer in control. Done. I think I don't know how long ago you posted that, but I think at this point that's clear. Jeanette, Barry, did you know that there's a Kim Clement prophecy about an Esther prophecy that would rise and be the cartel's worst nightmare? No, I did not know that. Thank you. Ronaldo, Dems, EU, NATO, and UN are feckless, and China and Russia are paper tigers. Trump era has started. China still has teeth, but I don't think they can afford to bite right now. Charlie, Barry, that Trump meme made me laugh. When I saw that Cuban Trump thing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is too much. That is too funny. Making Blankenship, like I said before, Trump is building his version of the New World. Yep. Ruled independent. Making sort of like King Saul before he turned from God. Wow. Wow. Chiosop, Trump will build a win-win coalition with all the countries where they'll be prosperous and no one will want to deviate into Democrat communism. You see, most of these countries basically people haven't experienced it in their lifetime. Yeah, Iran was nice before they came in, but think of all the people in the last 40 years that have been under that rule. They don't know any different. Redeemed Patriot. Trump is not taking over these countries as a dictator. He is forming a Monroe Doctrine team that works together for peace and prosperity through strength. Absolutely. Chiosop, deep state set up a system where some people would win at the cost of others. President Trump is setting up a win-win where everybody will benefit. And understand, we had another president that tried to do that and they blew his head off. So who knows what kind of danger he is in constantly. Pray for him. Captain Danny, Nome has been promoted to the Western Hemisphere czar. And by putting her in that position, it's not required to be approved by Congress. And so, like I said, I would not want to be a bad guy that is picked up and then sent to one of these other countries for interrogation or even a trial. That's big. I don't want you to forget that. We set up this coalition, which I'm sure they've got their ways and how they're going to handle criminals and everything else. You're a trafficker, drugs or otherwise. You get caught. You get caught doing that, and you're thinking, okay, so they're going to try me in America, and I've got this high-priced lawyer. They're going to string it out. I'll be okay, and then some liberal judge will let me off. That's what you're thinking, until you get picked up and put a hood over your head and like, where am I going? Paraguay. What? What do you mean Paraguay? For now. Then you might end up in Argentina. Then you just might disappear altogether. And we're clean. The only person who would know about it is Trump, Pete Hegseth, and probably Kristi Noem. Not a single Democrat, not a single person in the media would ever know what's happening in terms of how they're arresting these people. Think about that. We are so used to them coming on television and pontificating. We are so used to them telling us, this is how it's going to be, and you won't know nothing. You won't know nothing. And the so-called El Mancho just got arrested and he's in Paraguay, and there ain't shit you can do about it. That's what I like. Let me continue. Noam can work and no court can touch her. Nope, can't touch her. Can you imagine that? Think about that. Think about that kind of power. You're in the DHS, and everything you do has to be overseen by all these people where they're going to stop your funding. We're going to do. Notice what hasn't been talked about yet. Think about something. This is big. Notice what nobody has talked about. Who's funding the Board of Peace and who's funding the Avengers? Nobody want to ask that? That should be a big question for these people. You should dig into that. Making Blankenship, Barry mentioned on your show last year, Trump wanted to close our borders to do away with data. Yep, he did. S. Myram, thanks for putting up the best show. Thank you. Always educational. I try. I mean, my number one thing is to try and give you information you can go dig into. And you can start doing your own research and saying, okay, now I get it. Now I understand the Monroe Doctrine. Now I understand the Trump corollary. Now I understand stuff that these idiots ain't telling me for whatever reason. Mick and Blankenship, prayed for since leaving Vietnam and seeing my president resigning in disgrace. Yeah. And Mick and Blankenship again, thank you. Thank you for another great show. All right, everybody, enjoy your Saturday afternoon with your family, with your pets, whoever. Like I said, while I'm running the after party, I'll go ahead and put this dignified transfer ceremony together. So it'll come on at 1:30. I have no idea how long it'll last, but it'll be run automated. So I'll pray for these people today, and I hope you guys have a great day.